sights to show you?
Hell yeah.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse. Feels good to say that. It's been so long since we've done a full show with all of us today. We get to do that, and why not wrap up 2023 since we are 1 week into the new year, 2024, and I am curious to see what the landscape of 2024 in horror is going to look like. I know one thing, we're going to get that remake to the 1922 classic Nosferatu, and that is probably the film I am most looking forward to. And I'll ask the guys that as they jump on. Just a reminder, if you have never been a part of the Horror Syndicate Discourse, buckle up. We like to have conversations. If you're new, of course, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We love that. Hit the like button, all that jazz helps us out. And get in on the conversation. And today is going to be a good one because we're going to pretty much cover everything 2023. We've got our top 25. We've got honorable mentions. So we've got upwards of about 35, 40 movies that we're going to throw at you. And yeah, there's a lot of horror movies coming out these last few years. I'm going to start real fast before I add anybody. This is a combined list. All of us got together and put forth our own personal lists, and rather than showing off our personals, it would be like a 4-hour episode if we did that. We're gonna these are our combined lists together, and I think Nate has notes to let everybody know where some of these ranked on our list. And there are a lot of movies I didn't see. There's some movies Seth didn't see, some movies Jared didn't see, and I think Nate saw every movie. So we'll get into that. And Seth will be joining us a little late, and we're early today because of Seth, who's not here at the moment. He's restarting his computer. He should be joining momentarily. But we're going to welcome Jared Letourneau to the show. Jared, how's it going, my friend? Been a long time.
Yes, it's been too long, my friend.
Yeah, you didn't get to see many, but your overall thoughts on 2023 horror. Good, bad, kind of mid? What do you think?
I thought it was actually pretty decent, just from the length and the breadth that was out there. There was a shit ton of movies you could watch from 2023 in horror this year.
Something for everybody. Something for everybody. Yeah, I agree with that.
I didn't watch as many as you guys did, but there was definitely a theme. Like, it didn't start to be a theme, but it became a theme.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of possession movies this year.
Yeah, and Nate will point something else out because he mentioned it in our chat. One thing I noticed that there's a lot of movies that I feel did well throughout most of the movie and then just did not stick the landing. And we'll talk about a few of these that are on the list. Like one of the big ones I'll say is and I don't know if you got to see it or not, was our Talk to Me. I thought the movie was good up until like the last 30 minutes or so. And there's a few other ones as well, and we'll get into some of those. But I wanna see if you have a movie you're looking forward to for 2024. Have you? There's not much announced yet. I've seen like maybe 10 or 12, but Nosferatu's definitely got to be one of your favorites going into the new year.
Oh, it is 100, and you probably knew that.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the original is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So I mean,
yeah.
Anything Nosferatu related, I'm down. And it's Eggers, so I mean, he's going to do something good with it.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, he's got a great cast. The cast is phenomenal in this one. And we've seen one little scene image of Defoe in it, and that just got me going crazy. And I know it got Nate going too. So let's welcome Nate into the show. Nate, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, man. I know you're excited about Nosferatu, aren't you?
Oh, fuck yeah, man. Like that has potential to be my favorite vampire film ever made, if it's as good as the or Lights. The guy's just phenomenal, and Nosferatu. Both versions are great. The original, Murnau film and the Herzog remake. We've covered both of them on the show. We know the story, Dracula, for fuck's sake. So, and it's coming from a guy who just really loves, that type of filmmaking. So it's got a great cast. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
You have my mind. Okay, yeah, Sean. Check out the 1922 classic, Murnau, and of course, check out the 79. Both are definite must watch for any horror fan. So I asked Jared. I'm guessing that's not because you mentioned Nosferatu, but I did ask Jared, is that the one you're really looking forward to? Is Nosferatu for 24?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's that. We have to wait all year too. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready for it, and we got to wait all year. Hopefully, it won't be a Thanksgiving situation for me like this year, where I had to wait till after the New Year. I'm gonna try to get to see that in the theater. This new job I've been working I have not been to the theater since I started it. Let me get your overall impressions of 2023 as a whole. What are some of the things that you think of the year? And I know that you've mentioned the slasher, kind of a slasher boom.
It was a lot of slasher films this year. About I think I counted 15 or so. A lot of 90s style slasher, a lot of scream, almost satire of the genre. The whodunit thing, part of it, which was more of like the Kevin Williamson, and Kevin Williamson came back with us like kind of start our year off.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a lot of those kind of comedy horror, like it's a wonderful knife and Totally Killer and Thanksgiving. They all had these kind of there's a lot of horror comedy overall this year. A lot of movies with the tongue in the cheek vibe, and as you pointed out, definitely possession films galore. And it seems like there was one other theme that I'm drawing like, but overall, some really a big variety. What I did notice this was strong as last year. Last year was a motherfucker for films. Really, we went back at what we had last year. But still, I watched 60 horror films this year, and I'd say maybe 10 of them I could live without. I think 50 of them were actually worth watching. I mean, about 50 of them.
Yeah,
50 of them. The other ones aren't bad. I mean, I probably won't revisit them. But then there's some really strong ones, and I've watched about 30 in the last 30 days, just trying to catch up for this show. And it's never to find those gems, man. You'll be watching, like when you're watching a bunch. It's easy to get here to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you'll see like, holy shit, man, this would be my favorite of the year. I remember a couple of years ago, the Queen of Black Magic was that for me. I had my set list and I watched that movie like right before the show, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking incredible. And so there was a kind of like that was all number one of the year that I just watched last week, and then Seth watched it, and he wrote and said, "Thanks, man. You pull these last minute movies out that win me over." So
yeah, and I wish I would have been able to watch a lot of these movies that I missed. Maybe I will at some point. And we're gonna bring Seth in and get his overall view as well. Seth, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Go Bills.
Tim Kelly throwing one tonight.
I don't know if he's going to have connection problems or not. Looks like he might.
There he is.
Seth, can you hear us?
He's frozen.
I don't think he's frozen. I just don't know if he can hear us or not. He's smiling. I don't know what's going on, Seth. Well, this is the episode where we're going to examine Seth.
Point, Seth. Good point.
Seth, can you hear us? Now he might be frozen. Anyway, I don't know what it is. Like when we do our other show, he'll have shows where, like last week, Child's Play, he had no problems. Then he'll have weeks where he'll be glitchy. He's just got the worst internet provider, I think, out of all of us, maybe. There he goes. Yeah. So we'll get back to Seth, hopefully. If not, we'll just keep moving forward. Before we get started, Nate, I know you wanted to say some things about one movie that I didn't like it at all. It's Skinamarink. So if you want to jump in and talk about that real fast, and I'll follow up with what I want to say about one of the movies. Go ahead.
Yeah, Skinamarink didn't make our list, didn't make my honorable mention list, but it's something about that movie. It was like one of the first horror films of the year. It was there was a lot of buzz around it. It played in the theater miraculously. I went and saw it in the theater, and while it didn't make any of our list, my list, it's something that kept eating at me like the movie needs to be mentioned because it was very well received critically. And the reason I think is I've never experienced anything like it in a theater. I wanted to watch this was and to me there's merit to that. It's about a lot of the movies we see are derivative of something else. We can point and go, well, just Prowler, or that's just this or whatever. And we're fine with that. But this movie, like the only thing that like this previous was before this Paranormal Activity, where I'm kind of just quiet in a theater watching this like what's like a home video, and really carefully waiting for something to happen. And yeah, it's the kind of bore people to tears. Like, why the fuck am I sitting here watching this? And I can't argue against that. But something about where that movie took me in a theater that I haven't experienced, and I have to applaud that. I don't. You can just off as crap, or you could say there was some ambition there. There took some balls for them to make something like this for a studio have the balls to out in theaters. So I thought it should be at least mentioned. Didn't make any list, and it's not a movie. I'm going to want to watch. I haven't watched it again. But I don't know. It was just kind of this event 2020-23, and I thought it would be a mistake not to mention it because of it was odd. It was something out of left. And we're getting something like that this year with the yellow something. I can't remember what it's called. There's another TikTok craze that they film out of. It's kind of like rooms, yellow walled rooms or something that's coming out. But my daughter talks about it. She's all our kids are into the TikToks and the things like that. There's little thing, and it's kind of like a Slender Man. Kind of
creepypasta.
I don't know if it's creepypasta, but I guess it fits in the realm of like something that's been a hit on the and the kid who made it was like young, and they gave us money to make a feature. And maybe if anyone's watching knows what the title is, I think of it right now. My daughter would probably know.
Yeah, I haven't really looked too far into this year, upcoming year. I know there's a few things out there, but yeah. Yeah, Nate does watch a lot of deeper cut movies. I want to just talk real quickly about, and I'd love to hear you guys jump in on Exorcist Believer. And I mentioned this before. It's not great by any any word, any sense of anything. It's not great at all. It's not even really an honorable mention. I'm only mentioning it because I don't think it's as bad as everybody says it is. It's not great. It has a poor ending, and there's a lot of obvious things that happen in the movie, but I don't think it deserves to be as hated as it is. That's all I wanted to say about it. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to say about that before we move on. It's just I don't think we could have gone through this episode without mentioning Exorcist Believer, because The Exorcist, of course, is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, period, in my opinion, anyway. And this was supposed to be the beginning of a trilogy, which I'm not sure if that's actually happening or not, but I don't think it deserves the hate it gets. So anyone want to comment on that before we move on to Jared's?
So you didn't really like it, but you don't understand the hate at the same time?
No, I liked it just fine. Fine, honestly. I had no problem with it. I think some of it was just generic, but I liked it for the most part. I thought the girls turned in great performances, both of them.
Oh, no, yeah. Both the young girls did very well.
Yeah. It just, I don't think it deserves the Rotten Tomatoes score and the hate that it gets.
It had a good setup.
Go for it.
Christian's got it.
I thought it had a good
Go for it,
setup.
Seth.
The beginning was I thought really cool, like the whole thing with the girls going missing and the search for the girls. I thought that was all really well done. But then I think once they're found, that's when the movie kind of goes downhill for me. So
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. Actually, there are some good parts in
did you
between
guys hear
there. I
anything I
thought.
said, or am I glitching?
No, we heard you. Yeah, gotcha.
We heard you. I didn't hate it. I think the problem is first of all, the audience wanted to do it because of the David Green connection. Everyone hated his, not everyone, but a portion of people wanted to see it because they hated Halloween Ends or Halloween or whatever. I think that's where a lot of negativity comes from. But and that saying is great, but we're talking about The Exorcist, which is 10 greatest films in genre ever made, and people say, well, it's not as good as the original. No, fuck us, it isn't. It's not going to. It never would have been. Like, it just won't. You can't expect that. And sometimes that's what you have to carry when you mess with something that big. But Exorcist 3 is a great film. Still is kind of underrated in some ways. People don't talk about it or they forget about it. Most people who've seen it love it, but because it's still in the shadow of Friedkin's film, that's why it gets overlooked. So David Gordon had no fucking chance. There's just no way. He just wasn't gonna. And then the thing, every exorcism film after 1973 is just okay. None of them are incredible. Maybe Emily Rose.
I like Emily Rose. Yeah,
Emily Rose, great, but it's a totally different type of film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But most of them are all just shades of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's kind of like every shark movie is just a shadow of Jaws. It's just there's going to be a movie that'll live up to those films.
So big shadows.
Yeah.
The big 25 footer.
Yeah, so that's I just wanted to kind of get on that a little bit. If you're ready, Jared, we'll go through a couple of these movies that are kind of your honorable mentions if you like. We'll start with Consecration. I like this one, by the way. I thought this was good. Do you remember it enough to I think this was on Shudder too, wasn't it?
Yep. Possibly. A good majority of these movies are on Shudder, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So if you have Shudder and you got $5 to spend a month, like a lot of these movies are on Shudder.
Yeah, this one was kind of unexpected. What'd you think of this one?
I was pleasantly surprised. I like Jenna Malone very much.
Yeah.
Also being born, raised Catholic and stuff like that, this movie had a little closer niche to me. It wasn't at all what I expected. Has everybody on the table seen this?
I have. I think Nate did.
I have, yeah. I don't think Seth did.
Yeah. So Jenna Malone is, I don't exactly remember what her professional title is, but she's looking for her brother who died, and it gets drawn back to a convent where he was a priest at, and there was some malevolent things that happened, and her brother ended up walking off of a cliff, and she wanted to figure out why, and it gets pretty dark after that, but without going into too many spoilers, like Jenna Malone really fucking kills this movie, and this is a movie I would watch again. There are certain films you just won't watch more than once, but this was in my top 5 for a reason, because she really killed her performance.
Yeah, she was great. Next, anything else you want to say before we move on? You got 4 more that weren't on any of our lists.
No, that's fine. I figured there would be a few.
Yeah. Cocaine Bear. A lot of people saw this one. I never saw it, and I think Nate has seen.
We
both have seen it.
We went to the theater just to see this one, and it was just a lot of fun. And real cocaine bears just like download it in Lexington, so I went and saw the real cocaine bear. Had a picture with it. They got them some stuffed in a store in Lexington. Yeah.
So it's based on a real movie story.
Yeah, the movie's completely fiction, but it was true. The bear did eat a bunch of cocaine that fell off.
Yeah. The bear did not go on a killing rampage. That part fictional.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that movie in the theater as well with my son, and it was like Nate said, it's just fun kills. There was fun comedy, like for every. It's kind of weird to say. For every serious horror movie I watch, sometimes I need a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a little fun. This was just a fun movie.
Yeah, man, it's a blast. And think about Elizabeth Banks.
Did she direct it?
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. How about Nefarious? This is not one I didn't get to see this one.
This one was a weird one. It is. It kind of added to the theme of the movies I saw this year. It was another possession film. God, what is his name?
Patrick Flannery.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah.
He was the inmate, and he's basically possessed, and they are trying to find a stay of execution throughout the entire movie. And it's just one of those movies where you're leaning to the left or you're leaning to the right. Is he really possessed, or is he just a really good actor? Like, it's just one of those movies that's
kind of like what was that one with made Edward Norton famous?
Right, Primal Fear.
Primal Fear.
That where you don't like is he that stupid, or is he like a mastermind genius?
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like, you throughout the entire movie, you don't know if he's just playing dumb or if he really is possessed. And the ending was pretty heart-wrenching. That's why I added it in my top 10.
I'm gonna check that out.
You have to check that one out.
That's not David Tennant, is it? God,
Is
looks
it?
like him.
I don't think
It did look like him. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Next, The Pope's Exorcist. I saw this one, and it was a possession movie with a superhero ending. That's what I called it. It's okay, right? What do you think?
Again, with the theme of my movies, another possession movie, but I just enjoyed his Italian accent and like speaking Latin. Like, this was a different role for Russell Crowe, and he actually did pretty well with it.
Yeah.
But like, for the, for what it was, like, we were just talking about that earlier. Like, everything seems to be a trope from The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
You get that kind of shit in this movie.
And I think wasn't this guy one that did The Exorcist that The Exorcist was based on? The real Exorcist, like because I watched the documentary that Wiccan made with the real guy that Crowe was playing.
Oh, okay.
There's a documentary I watched it when Freaking passed last year. I started some things I had missed, and he did a documentary where he was allowed to film an exorcism with that priest.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I can't remember what the movie's called, but anyone interested, William Freakin documentaries and something he directs, so it's going to be on IMDb.
Yeah. The one thing this movie does, it sets up the ECU, the Exorcism Cinematic Universe. I don't know. There were things I liked about this. It kept falling on my list. But the ending seriously felt like a superhero battle with the two priests going up against the demonic presence or whatever. And it was. I love Russell Crowe anyway. I mean, I don't know many that don't care for him.
I love that dude.
Yeah. And then the last one of his honorable mentions is, I think this was the first one I saw all year. Sorry About the Demon. I shouldn't care for it, but what do you think, Jared? Another possession movie. And honestly, you can argue that Cocaine Bear he's possessed by the cocaine.
Right. Sweet cocaine.
Yeah.
Almost every movie I've watched this year had nothing to do but possessions.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He was in possession of how many?
So sorry about the demon came about because I watched When Evil Lurks. And that movie was so bleak. We'll get into that later, but I needed a palate cleanser. I needed something funny in my life, and this movie hit the mark. It's got the funny demon stuff. This guy breaks up with his girlfriend, moves into a house.
Yeah.
The realtor's like, "Oh yeah, this house is possessed. We need to get rid of it. So I will rent it to you basically for free." And this guy's like, "Okay, I don't have any money, so I'll take it." And so he's got ghosts and he's got shit all over his house, and he's like, I'm just living here. Like, he just deals with it.
Yeah.
But it was actually really fucking funny. Like, I don't even know.
I don't know. I didn't think the comedy landed for me. I think that's why it landed so far on the bottom, towards the bottom of my list. But yeah, out of those 5, which one would you recommend the most?
Consecration 100.
Okay, Consecration of those 5. All right. Yeah, I dug that one. When I saw that one, I thought that would be one Nate would like for sure, and I thought you'd like that one. I know Seth wouldn't like that, more than likely. Seth being the heathen that he is.
Power of Christ compels you.
So next up, we're gonna look at Seth's. I want to do Seth's next because I don't know if we're gonna be able to keep him forever. And Seth, if you're cool, we'll start with this one, Subspecies 5 or V.
What does the V stand for? I'm just kidding.
Or not.
Oh, he was just there.
He was just there, yeah. There we go.
He said 5.
Yeah. Go ahead, Seth. Bing, bing.
The thing with this one is that I don't entirely recommend to everyone. You got to be a fan of the series. I'm a big fan of this franchise, so I really dug it. But it's not a great movie. It's your standard Full Moon level quality, but I enjoyed it as a fan, so that's why it's an honorable mention for me.
Something's wrong with the children?
Yeah. I don't know how well I'm coming through to you guys here. You guys are cutting in and out, so I don't know how much of what I'm saying is actually coming through. I'll try to keep it brief. This one I thought was pretty good for the first 2/3 of the movie, and then it kind of fell apart pretty big in the third act. I think there are some good moments of suspense. I do like elements of the story too. Like, it's like there's these 2 couples go on a vacation. One couple has 2 children. They go for a hike. They find this ruined building, and the kids are drawn to this hole, and they start acting weird about it. And the parents are having marital issues, so the kids stay with the couple that doesn't have kids. And when they get up in the morning, the kids are already gone. The main guy who was in Midnight Mass, he goes looking for the kids that they're going to be at the hole. He finds them there, and then they jump in, and he's like devastated. But then when he gets back to the camp, the kids are there, and they start acting very weird and sort of almost like bullying him, and things just go from there. There's no good explanation on why everything's happening. I think that's where it kind of like falls apart. Especially in the third act, but I thought for the most part it was decent. So, honorable mention for me.
I still want to see that one. Island Escape.
I didn't even. This title's kind of sounds like a
Yeah,
80s
Island
action movie.
Escape was. It's it's kind of a mind bender movie. It's not great, and probably the more you think about it, you'll probably figure out a shitload of holes into. There's this scientific research happening, um, and basically these mercenaries are hired to go in and find the daughter of someone and get her out. But when they get there, they find weird stuff, like they find other versions of themselves and their weapons and all that scattered all throughout. And it turns out that they're in some sort of like bubble. And basically, if you get out, there's like a certain point where you can get out. And but when you get out, it takes you're 2 years into the past. And so basically, there's a whole loop of these mercenaries keep going back and back to the island, and the ones that are trapped there from before, they start to mutate into like these creatures. And one of the members of one of the mercenaries, he's aware of this because he actually was one of the ones to get out from the previous run, and he's trying to set everything right to save everybody. But so it's kind of a mind bender where it's like people versus monster versions of themselves, and there's like a sort of like a loop. Not a perfect movie, but I thought it was really fun. So there's that.
And that is important when it comes to watching movies, is having fun, in my opinion. Nate, if you're ready, we'll go through yours. You got 5 movies, and did you want to do them in order, or does the order matter? Because I know you got an order. Let's just start here, because I got them in order, I believe. Nate's on mute. Hold on. Unmute yourself, Nate. You muted. I think you muted yourself. I can't unmute you.
How long have we been doing this, guys? Come on.
This is the first episode of the year, obviously. I don't know, Nate, if you have to leave and come back or something. I don't know why you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah. Okay, he's going to leave and come back. I mean, this happens. Don't give us a break. You know, we're trying to figure out all the audio stuff and everything. Like, it's been a while since we've all been here. It's been me and Seth holding down the fort for a few. I can't remember the last time we all had an episode together, honestly. Let me look.
4 months, maybe.
It's all right. Nate should be good to go. All right, Nate.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do your honorable mentions.
All right, my honorable mentions. Okay, get shit right. Okay, so this is Where the Devil Roams. It's a movie made by the Addams family. That's what they call themselves. These 3 here are a family, the husband and wife and the daughter in the middle. That's John Adams, his daughter Zelda Adams, and his wife Toby Poser. They made Hellbender last year. The movie with the mother and the daughter, and they were.
I like that one.
They made we liked it. It made our list last year. This is their follow up. It's set during the Depression, and they are a part of a freak show, carny kind of thing. They traveling carnival, and she doesn't speak. But she sings like an angel, I guess. And it has a lot to do with like it deals with the devil, but they're also like on the road, and they break into people's homes and murder them. They're kind of a psychopathic family, and I don't want to go into what is going on, but it's really interesting. A low budget 1930s set carny movie with some dark shit going on, and like basically a family of psychopaths. And I'll leave it at that. But it's on. I think you have to rent it, but it's cheap. It's like $2, $3. And I had it ranked as my number 25 of the year, and right now it has 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So
it's also available on Tubi.
Oh, okay.
I
I paid for it for nothing.
There you go. $2 you'll never see again.
He paid for the convenience of no commercials.
That's right. I didn't have to watch any commercials.
True. I probably would do that, honestly. So it sounds like something I need to check out.
Yeah, you guys like the Hellbender.
I loved Hellbender last year. Yeah, I just ran out of time. Your next one is Influencer, which is available on Shudder.
Yeah, Influencer is number 17 on my overall list. It was directed by Curtis David Harder, who did Spiral. And this actress here on the left, her name is Cassandra Nod. She was also in It's a Wonderful Knife this year.
Yeah, she had a really small role in that.
Yeah, she's very distinctive. She has a big birthmark on her face. Very recognizable. So anyway, this movie is about the blonde girl here is an online influencer, and she's on vacation in Thailand, and she meets this other girl, and it's kind of like a stolen identity thing. She starts taking her identity and posting as her, and like using technology to morph her face to look like this girl. So she starts basically taking over this influencer's life, and people show up to hey, where the fuck is she? I don't want to go into what happens, but that's what that's kind of the nature of it. It's kind of a thriller, but it's also a horror film. I've written some little things down here. Tesh, this is the director talking about the film. Tesh and I initially had a conversation a long time ago about trusting familiarity, and it really stemmed from that. We talked about how often you travel halfway across the world and then still look for your normal comforts as opposed to trying to actually experience places for what they have to offer. And so that was really the initial thread of the idea. And then obviously the aspect of who you are online versus offline, and all that kind of thematic work started to trickle into the film, and just the idea that we wanted to make this really bendy travel thriller, which is something that I really like to watch in films, and also look to make films like that too. It's stuff that I just want to watch. As you said, it's on Shudder, and it has like a 92% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought it was a really strong movie. I know my wife liked it a lot.
It's one I kept forgetting about. That's why it's not even on my list. I totally keep forgetting about that because it was one I wanted to see from the trailers. So that's partially my fault why it's not higher on, or even on our list.
Yeah.
Because I kept forgetting it. Because that was another one that came out pretty early in the year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, at least early or mid year.
Yeah. So the next one, if you're ready, is one I hadn't heard of.
El Conde, The Count. This is it's set in Chile, made by a Chilean filmmaker named Pablo Larraín.
And this one's on Netflix.
It's this guy actually. He's made a lot of English-speaking movies and a lot of political ones. He made the movie about Jackie O with Natalie Portman. He made the movie Spencer about Princess Diane. And this movie is a kind of a horror satire, military political movie. It's gorgeous for starters. It's black and white cinematography is amazing in this film. But it's kind of a satire on a real Chilean officer and politician from the 70s to the 90s named Augusto Pinochet. I think he's French, and he's like a dictator, and he went to Chile, and he ran Chile. He's like the longest ruler in Chile history. And in the movie, he's a vampire, and he's like 250 years old, and he wants to die, but he can't because he's a fucking vampire, and he's tried to kill himself, but he can't. And his wife, who wants to be, it's kind of like his Renfield. She's always been waiting for years to be turned. He won't bite her, but he's promised he will. And then he has a butler who's worried about him. But he wants to die, and so his family of money grubbing kids come wanting to get their inheritance because he's super super wealthy. And I won't go into more of that, but it's just a very unique. I don't know how to explain it, but again, it's like a political satire vampire movie.
Is it black and white?
It's in black and white, yeah.
Oh, you love
Spanish,
that.
and it's got an 82% rating. It's number 16 on my overall list of the year.
And it's on Netflix if you want to give that a shot. The Passenger.
Passenger, I just watched yesterday or day before. This came in number 15 on my overall list. It was directed by Carter Smith, who did Swallowed last year, I think it was. And he did The Ruins, like about 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And this is Kyle Gallner, who I love. I think this guy's very underrated. He was a Nightmare on Elm Street, Red State. Smile. Yeah, last year he did Scream. He was in Scream last year. Jennifer's Body. Yeah, he did a lot of stuff. He's really finding this. Dinner in America last year was really fucking great. He was great in that. He's becoming kind of this underground, like not underground, but indie power. Like I saw some people comparing him to De Niro in this movie, like a young De Niro. So anyway, the movie is all right. It's kind of about this kind of loser guy who works in this fast food restaurant, kind of a timid, passive kid, and he's getting bullied by a coworker. And Kyle Gallner's kind of like the older, quiet one, who's kind of just observing. But he tells the guy who's picking on him to, hey, you've proved your point, fuck out and lay off. And then the guy tries to get in his face. So Gallner like walks out to his car, pulls a shotgun out of the trunk, goes in and shoots the motherfucker, and then starts killing everybody except for the nerd. And then he and the nerd, he gets get in the car and they go on a ride, and that's the movie's kind of like you're driving around with a psychopath, but it's like this relationship. Like, why is he doing this for this kid? But it's kind of like this wish fulfillment. Like I've been beaten up and picked on my whole life, and this big brother type is taking me under his wing and trying to man me up, kind of thing, and take me on this voyage of violence, and so it's kind of like a natural born killer type thing, not a romantic love affair, but these two guys.
I was going to say, wait.
Yeah, it's not a love affair, but it's more of a, just I don't know. It's just odd. Like the director said, he said, he read the script. He didn't write it. He said, that relationship I found so fascinating and so ripe with this just juicy stuff to dig into. I read it for the first time, and halfway through, I was rooting for Kyle Gallner's character and wanting him to somehow be okay. That made me a little uncomfortable, leaving me a little like, I don't know how I feel about this, because this guy, he's doing horrible things. And so, you could compare it to like Badlands, where again, without the romance, there's no romance. It's not a romance film, but when someone, all of a sudden your whole life is changed and you're suddenly stuck with this extremely violent person who is actually looking out for you and seems to care about you. You don't know why, but they're doing these horrible things. So, and you're too scared to like fight back with them, because he's just murdering people. And, I don't know. I thought it was really good. My wife and I watched the trailer months ago, and it was something we wanted to watch. So for this show, I was like, all right, I'm going to rent it, because I think it's only available to rent right now. But it's cheap, it's another $3.99 rental, $4.99, or you can buy it right now. Actually, you can buy it for $4.99 or rent it for $4.99. So yeah, I bought it.
Okay. And then your final one on here was kind of a bigger one in the last few months, Godzilla -1.
Yeah, this is my last honorable mention. I think I think I'm the only one that saw it, so maybe that's why it's not on there. And some
I'm not
people,
a big fan of Godzilla movies.
I'm not a big Godzilla guy either. Like, and the thing is, like, there's a lot of people who don't feel like Godzilla is a horror film or horror franchise.
It's a
like they don't think it. Yeah, they don't think it's King Kong is. They don't think Jaws is. Like, fuck, they're monster movies. They're creature features. But Godzilla -1, it's one of the best rated films of the year. People loved it. It's very, very popular. I'm not a big Godzilla fan, but I think this is arguably maybe the best Godzilla movie ever made. I wouldn't argue against that. It kind of goes back to the roots. It takes place at the end of kind of the tail end of World War II. The main character is a kamikaze pilot who chickens out, and he lands at his base. And when he lands at the base, Godzilla attacks the base, and he chickens out again, and a lot of people die. So it's a redemption story because this guy has continuously been a coward, and Godzilla is tearing up Japan. It's just running loose at the end of World War II, and it becomes this very human story. I mean, it's got 98% and by critics and audience on there. It's still in theaters. If you have a chance to see it, I'd recommend it. This guy, the director Takashi Yamazaki, is a veteran. He's made like over 20 films. Returner was a movie he made 20 years ago that I remember seeing. And he's made a lot of, I think, anime too, animation stuff. So he wants to make a Star Wars movie, and hell, he might get one after this.
Hopefully.
I wanted to see that movie, but it never came to the theater around here.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's only available theatrally right now.
Yeah, it's still playing here too. Yeah. Come on down, Seth. We'll go see it.
I'll be right there.
All right. So now we've gotten through all of our honorable mentions. You guys ready to get into the thick of the year? The really good ones, I guess. I don't know. It's subjective, of course. But the top 25, our top 25 as mixed together. And the first, I think, let's see, 5, 6, I didn't see.
Okay.
So I can't say anything about them. Jared might be with me on that, but we're going to start off with number 25, The Sacrifice Game, which after reading about this sounds like one I should watch.
This is
I think you'd like it, Ray. I think Jared would like it.
Yeah. Yeah, based on what I read, I think I would like it, so I'm about to see it. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, this is one that Nate and I have respectfully disagreed upon. I liked it a lot better than he did. But there's like 4 members of a cult. They're killing people. It's a few days before Christmas when it starts off, and they're collecting basically people's skin who have strange tattoos on them. And they go to this all-girls private school. It's set in the 1970s, and their plan is to summon a demon who can grant them wishes. However, there's a few twists. I don't want to spoil the movie. I think the first reveal is kind of obvious. I picked up on a couple things where I was like, okay, and so I saw it coming. I really liked the second reveal because I can't mention it because it'll kind of give it away. But overall, I was engaged with this movie from beginning to end. I liked the story. I think there's one actress in here who once I'm gonna give it away.
Don't give it away.
Basically, once something happens, I think the performance from a particular person is so much better throughout the rest of the movie. I really can't say too much about it because it is a movie with a couple different twists and turns. And again, I think Ray and Jared, I think you guys would probably like it. So there's that. There's my opinion on Sacrifice Game.
All right. Let's move on to 24, which is Sister Death. I did not see this one either.
Yeah, this is one of my picks. This was my number 10 overall through the
Wow.
year. This is from director Paco Plaza, who was one of the directors who made the Wreck series, the Wreck films.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He made Veronica, and this is a prequel to Veronica. Veronica is a really fantastic movie. I need.
Is that the one from like 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, the possession
movie. Scary movie.
Yeah,
okay.
Everybody was going crazy about it.
Yeah.
This is a prequel to it. In that movie, there was a character named Sister Death, who was a nun who was blind. This is her story. It's set in 1939 in Spain. Played by this actress Aria Bedmar, who's really, really good in it. but she is a new teacher at this girls' school, like ran by nuns in Spain in 1939, and there are some new supernatural things going on. She has some supernatural abilities. Like there's something that she can sense things and see things, and so she is clairvoyant or something, and she's picking up on things. And whatever happened in this school to the previous person who's in her room that she's staying in is something that the other nuns who were there then are keeping secret. And so there's this, you know, it's been a year for nuns in blood consecration. Might as well be consecration, but she starts to unravel what's happened, and something happened that was the Spanish Civil War happened right before this takes place, and the Spanish Civil War was like the bloodiest conflict in Europe since World War I at that point. And I did a little research, and it was a breeding ground for mass atrocities. About 200,000 people died as a result of systematic killing, mob violence, torture, and brutalities. It's just a really great fucking movie. Veronica, this is a strong filmmaker, and I just really liked it. And as you start to unravel the mystery of the hauntings and who the spirits are and what happened, and it's I don't know, I just really like it. Beautiful film, amazing cinematography.
Yeah, I've been meaning to check out Veronica. Jared, did you ever see that one?
No, I haven't.
I remember back when we did the old show, Brian mentioned it and said people were calling it the scariest movie ever made and such. And I don't know. I'd like to check it out at some point, and maybe I'll check that out along with this one. You said this is a prequel, Nate?
Yeah, and you can watch it without seeing Veronica. Really, at the ending, to kind of it kind of connects the dots with the original film, but not in a way that affects this story, because this story has nothing to do with Veronica.
Okay. Number 23 on our list is Fear the Invisible Man. Seth and Nate saw this one.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of the H.G. Wells novel, and also the James Whale Universal film from the 30s.
As we all are, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And what I really like about this one is how it goes back to the novel, but they find a way to tell the story without kind of doing what's been done before. They kind of it's almost kind of like restructured. So basically everything that happens with Griffin in the inn it's like that's backstory. It's already happened. The Invisible Man is already terrorizing people throughout, and so where this film begins is with Griffin looking for his former colleague, Dr. Kemp. However, in this version, Kemp is dead, and he finds Kemp's wife, and he tries to get her to help him retrieve his books. This has some pretty bad CGI in it. I fully admit it. There's one part, especially in the beginning, in this bar where it was awful. But what I like about it is I like that it's a period piece. I like that it really goes back to the novel. Unlike, not to draw a comparison to Lee Whannell's The Invisible Man from 2020, but that one had nothing really to do with the novel or the previous movie. It was just kind of its own thing.
Right.
So I kind of like it going back to that, and with it being a period piece too, I kind of like it's not, in terms of quality, it's not as good as these films, but for me, this kind of like almost fits in with Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola film, Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and even Joe Johnston's The Wolfman. Period piece retelling of this classic monster. But I definitely highly enjoy this one. Again, the CGI is not good. There's there's a couple actors who aren't great in it. But I think the woman that played Mrs. Kemp, I thought she did pretty good with leading the film. And I especially got to give her props for having certain things in this that the other adaptations of the book kind of left out, including this character named Thomas Marvel, who kind of is bullied into helping Griffin until he betrays him. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and if you're a fan of the book, you might like it. I don't know, Nate, what do you think?
It's available on Tubi and Prime. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, I thought it was good. First of all, I love the fucking title. Maybe my favorite title of a movie this year on our list. Fear of the Invisible Man is a great title.
Yeah, title.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's a good movie. The CGI is kind of hard to get past, but it's not entirely. The movie, I'm assuming it was made in England. It has a BBC TV movie or production kind of feel, sound, look, aesthetic about it. So once you get past that typical BBC low production kind of, sometimes that stuff works. It's like if it's quirky, like a comedy or something. So but this is pretty serious, so it's a little hard to forgive it that way. But at the same time, I didn't dislike the movie at all. I thought it was good. I do think it, with a bigger budget, it could have been something really, really significant. It would have been higher on my list, I think.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I'll have to check this one out.
Same.
Number 22, Ghosts of the Void.
Yeah, this is one of mine, number 7 on my overall list. This movie, I do not want to give away things. From the trailer, you're going to think it's The Strangers.
Oh.
But if they're in a car and not in a house.
That's kind of the vibe I got watching the trailer.
Yeah, the movie is about these two this married couple who are kind of artists. The husband, I think, is a writer. The wife is an artist, I believe. And they have fallen on hard times. They've been evicted, and they're living in their car. And I think it's the first night. And so they don't know where to go. They have very little money. Everything's in their car. And they decide to park at this park out in a kind of a wooded park by the playground. And, worrying if the cops are going to show up and run them off, that kind of thing. If they're going to get tickets because they can't afford to pay them. They don't know. They've never been this down. And the anxieties and the stresses of being evicted and broke and not knowing what your future is going to be is really a big thing on this movie. And these 3 people show up in masks. And, not to give anything away, I just I wrote down so I don't give things away, but the director, Jason Miller, this is, I think, his feature debut, which is really impressive. He said, most of it came together while I was writing. That's typically how I approach stories. It's the Stephen King method of starting with a single idea, a what if, and seeing where it goes. The initial idea was that of 2 people living in their car and something happens to them, which would have made it a horror film. I've never lived out of my car. It's never gotten that far for me, but there was a period in my life out of college where I was trying to find work. And when you don't know how you're going to pay your rent, that anxiety really builds up. I knew I had to incorporate all the details of that experience into the story, the way they approach problems and the way that they think about their situation. I wanted to make sure that was very specifically accurate to how I felt about that experience. Once I was going down that road, I said to myself, this is the story I need to write now. This is the most meaningful thing I have in development at the moment. So I ran with it, and I knew that it was going to be the first feature. So it has a lot to do with the anxieties of finance and being able to, pay your bills or pay for, just to live in America. So it's not just a home invasion, car invasion movie, but a commentary on poverty and the struggles of everybody, trying to survive financially in this world. how the stress and anxiety can really fuck with you.
Where is this one available?
It's available, I think, to rent right now, but it's cheap. It's not one of those like $5 or less rentals. And again, it's like number 7 on my list. So it's
$5 on Vudu or Prime. What was it on your list?
Number 7, I think, on my overall list. Yeah, it's got 100% rating right now. So.
Okay, check that one out. Number 21 is Malum, which is a remake, right?
Yep.
Which I had no idea that was the case.
Yes.
All right.
I didn't either. Like, that was the funny thing, is because like I never saw Last Shift. I never saw Last Shift, but like I wanted to. I remember seeing like some sort of like video on YouTube a couple years ago, but I could never remember the title. And then as I'm watching, like I just randomly selected this, and as I'm watching, I'm like, this seems really familiar to that movie I keep forgetting about. So I paused the movie, grabbed my phone, and just started looking up to see if this was a remake. And sure as shit, it is a remake. But I love this one. And I say that as someone who hasn't seen the original. I know from everything I've read after, a lot of people say that the original is far superior to this one. Some people say that this is kind of unnecessary. But I don't have that comparison. But I was fully in on this one. I absolutely love it. I love the story. I love everything that happens in it. I think there's some good, creepy stuff that happens in it. There's great visuals, and the way this movie ends too, I thought was really cool. So I really want to check out Last Shift, which I plan on doing. Like, I wanted to, pump through a bunch of 2023 movies first, but I do plan on getting to Last Shift pretty soon because of how much I loved this remake.
Maybe that'll be one that we cover this year, is The Last Shift. I really like that one.
I like The Last Shift. I have that on DVD, and I just watched Malum today. I'd been putting it off because I'd seen the original and thought, why is this being made? Because it'll be 10 years old this year. Yeah. And it's same director. Same director. It's like, why did they do this?
What?
And,
it is?
Yeah, and it was shot in Louisville, right here in Louisville, in an old prison. And this one was. Yeah. And so I went and looked it up, like, why was this remade? And so what happened was the director was approached. Let's see, I think I wrote it down here. Yeah, the director and his Last Shift co-writer Scott Pulley decided to have another crack at the story when Luc Lebeau, head of development at the recently founded Welcome Villain Films, approached them about making another movie set in the Last Shift universe. So they wanted to make a sequel. They were going to give him money. And he said, we debated for it for a while, and if we were going to do an extension of the first movie or if we were going to reimagine it. So we went with the reimagining because Scott and I did Last Shift on a very limited budget. So basically what they did was the first movie was made on a low budget and it went straight to video. It never got in the theater. And they felt that this was a movie that was great with it, would have been great with an audience and would have been great theater experience. So they thought, well, if we make it and we tweak it and we make it a bigger budget, maybe it'll get in theaters this time and be seen properly by the horror audience together, communitively. And so that's why they remade it. I still don't know if it had a theater. I don't think it played here either. But I get that. And I don't think we talked about what it is. Like this girl's working in a police station. It's closing, right? It's kind of like Assault on Precinct 13 got in there.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Yeah. Or like Night Shift, like the movie. So she's alone in the police station, and there's
last night
hauntings, and her dad was a hero cop who took down caught a cult and rescued some people, but some people died, and of course that all plays into it. This cult leader and this cult, Charlie Manson kind of thing, is haunting, and it goes into furthermore. We don't want to give it away, but it's a great setup. You've got this one young woman in a empty police station at night by herself, and some crazy shit's happening, and she's trying to, and she's got ties to it because her dad used to work in that station, and something happened in the very beginning of the movie. We won't go through, won't get reveal. But yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I'd like to watch it and kind of do a comparison because I really like The Last Shift. I'd like to. That's another one I'd like to revisit. So that's definitely I'm going to put that on our list for 2024 to talk about if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
Next is Nate one. Beau is Afraid.
Beau is Afraid. This is number 4.
The runtime scared me away from this, to be honest.
Yeah, this is number 4 on my overall list, and it's Ari Aster's third film. Ari made Hereditary and Midsommar,
which I love.
Yeah. He actually wrote this before he wrote those movies. He made a short called Beau, which I can't find online. I think it's been pulled from the internet. It came out in like 2011, so he extended it. But I love what he said here. He said, I would later serve as a basis for a sequence in the feature film and a 2014 draft. Okay, so he said he described this movie initially as a nightmare comedy or a Jewish Lord of the Rings but the guy's just going to his mom's house. Or as if you pumped a 10-year-old full of Zoloft and had him go get groceries. It is hard to explain. It is I think critics and fans didn't really love it. I think a lot of them felt it was pretentious or a guy who has a lot of money and pull now and is being self-indulgent. And it's certainly that, but I think this is just something that he's been working on for 10 years. And basically the story is Joaquin Phoenix is a mama's boy who is pumped full of anxiety and fears, lives in his apartment, does not go out. When he goes out, he's terrified. Every dark, anxious thought that you have is a reality for him. So when he steps outside of his apartment, every nightmare you can think of, every horrible person you don't want to run into is completely populating his apartment complex and the outside streets. So wherever he goes, he's being attacked at everything. And it really stems back to his mother and everything she's pumped. In many ways, this movie, and I haven't seen anyone compare it, but it is The Wall. It is Pink Floyd's The Wall with Ari Aster telling it. I think it's really cool. I rewatched it the other day. I loved it just as much. My wife and my daughter were watching it today, and they were being really entertained. It's because in the movie kind of it's almost in 3 parts. So even though it's 3 hours long, it's like 1 hour episodes. Like it's almost chapter. Like you're going to go through 3 chapters, 3 different things. And they're also different, unique. But you're on this big, like I said, Lord of the Rings Odyssey where the guy's just going to mom's house. And Joaquin Phoenix and Ari really clicked. And they're going to do another movie together. They're already talking about it. One thing I was listening to Ari talk to Yorgos, who made another one of my favorite movies, Poor Things, which I debated whether it should be in this list because it's not really a horror movie, but it's a Frankenstein type movie. But he said that him and Joaquin really clicked to the point where they were like finishing each other's sentences, and other people said they really bonded. And he said one thing I loved about Joaquin was Joaquin is an actor who he will not move forward until he feels that you've gotten everything out of that scene. Have we done everything we could? Is the scene, did we leave anything on the table? And he said that really motivated me as a filmmaker to push myself constantly. And that's how Joaquin works. So they're going to do something else together next.
That'll be good.
I think, yeah. And it's I think it's on Showtime right now. If anyone wants to see it.
I thought it was available somewhere else too.
It may be. I know, like
Paramount Plus, maybe.
Paramount Plus too, which has some Showtime movies on it. So.
Oh yeah, that's probably how. Yeah, because a friend of mine told me that I should see it and I like it, and that was today. So I was like, oh, it's so long. I don't know if I have time, and I'll probably get around to because I love Phoenix, and of course the director is becoming one of my favorites of this past 5 or so years, 6 years. Ugh. Time's passing too fast.
It's a strange Odyssey movie.
The trailer didn't do anything for me. That's the problem. Like I went into this year and I told you guys if something doesn't get me excited or grab me, I'll probably not gonna watch it. Because last year I went through almost 70 horror movies, and I mean, I like to give movies a chance, but there's so many of them that just did nothing for me. This year I was a little bit more reserved, but now there's a few that I want to go back and watch. So, let's number 19 is a movie called Unseen. I'm going to start with this, Nate. I think you and I are the only ones who saw this one.
I think so. Yeah.
This movie has such a cool concept.
Yeah.
It had a really cool concept of the woman who's been abducted by an ex-boyfriend, abusive, psychotic, or whatever. She breaks free, can't see because of her glasses, and she is trying to get through the woods on her own, but she accidentally dials someone that works in a rest stop or a gas station, and she has to use the person in the gas station as her eyes, which I thought was a really cool concept. I just hated the ending. Like really, that and what's her Missy Pyle's role, hated it. That ruined it for me completely. But otherwise, I thought the concept was really cool, and everything between the two leads was great. But the other stuff was like, come on,
Yeah, it was a fun watch. Like I said, and what's so funny was there was a movie last year, I believe, called See for Me that was almost the same thing.
Oh, really?
It was a woman who was blind and she was house sitting, and she gets into trouble like this. I think some people are trying to break into the house, and she has to call somebody up to see for her and guide her with her cell phone. So it's almost the same thing, but this one's is a comedy thriller. It's funny because the woman she calls at the convenience store, gas station, whatever it is kind of a loser stoner who is like, I don't want to do this. She's like, can you call somebody else? It's like, I can't. Like, she can't dial. She doesn't know who she's dialing, because she can't see her phone. She can't. And she's afraid she's going to lose because she's out in the middle of nowhere. It's in like the house is secluded in the woods, so she doesn't know if she's going to get a hold of someone else.
Well, one good thing about this is there are some really tense moments, like by the river.
Yeah,
that part, and then when she tries to drive without being able to see at one point, there are some really good moments. It's just the ending killed me. And Missy Pyle, I don't know what it is about her. I cannot stand her for some reason, and she was out of control in this movie. It went further than fiction with that stuff, in my opinion.
Got really cartoonish there.
But I did like how the girl in the gas station she ran into every problem you could possibly have with a cell phone. She broke the tip off the charger, couldn't charge the phone, all this different stuff, which, I think all of us can kind of relate to. So
it rains, it pours.
Yeah, exactly. So overall, it's not a bad movie. I just didn't like the ending, and I didn't like the Missy Pyle stuff. So, but I like the two leads together and everything that was going on. There were some really good tense moments for Unseen. Anything else you want to say before we move on to number 18?
No.
Because number 18 is one that a lot of people loved. Talk to me. Talk to me, guys.
Well, let's see. You had it. No, Jared had it higher than everybody. You and Jared had the highest rating for this one. So,
Jared, what do you think?
I got to see it in the theater. I thought it was fun because of the whole. It gives you a different look on the Ouija board aspect because that's kind of what I got from it.
Yeah.
It's like we're just playing with a different Ouija board.
Yeah, same idea, really.
This, like a couple of movies we've already mentioned, kind of loses steam towards the third act.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like starting off, like when you're getting into it, it's. I mean, I was in it to win it for the first few. It's a really good movie. I don't know that it deserves all the accolades or all the.
A lot of people are calling it the best, one of the best of the year, and I just don't see it. I mean, it's well directed. There's some good moments. Sometimes
that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah, I felt like it was uneven, very uneven, and then the last 30 minutes, like didn't do great for me. And then when Seth said he didn't like it, I was like, uh-oh. And Nate, it's an A24 movie. I thought you'd connect to it as well.
Yeah,
because,
I mean,
you know,
everything pointed to yes on this movie, like to the hype going into it. And usually, I'm not someone who, lets hype. I mean, I definitely was. I was hearing all those good things. I'm like, oh man, finally, they got a great movie, and it's these what are they, Australian filmmakers, and
yeah,
and and everything sounded good. The trailer didn't do anything for me when I first saw the trailer, but when people started buzzing about it, I was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because I just thought it, and I walk away feeling the same way after seeing it. It's like this year's Smile. Everyone loved Smile last year, and it looked like a J horror kind of thing. There was a little shades of Flatliners in it, kind of like how far can we go, and how I'm going to go further or longer, and it was. I'm watching it and I'm going, I think I need to rewatch it. I would if I didn't have to rent it. Is it streaming anywhere? Because I couldn't find it streaming. I didn't want to pay to watch it again, but I'll watch it again, and hopefully without the hype train, maybe I'll be able to see it for what it is. I tried to revisit Smile for the same reasons and just still didn't like Smile.
I had to pay $6 to rent it last night. So
okay, I'll wait and see if it ever pops up, but. I put it number 45 out of 60 on my overall list.
It was
didn't care for it.
Not high on my list, and the only reason it's as high as it is on my list, which is around 18, 19, is because I think the rest of my list are kind of poor performers. Seth, do you have anything to say? I got to use the bathroom really bad. If you guys, I can move on to the next one if you guys are ready, or Seth, if you can take the control.
All I'll say about Talk to Me is I think it's well directed. I will definitely see more from these directors, right? Like I would rather these people get projects than the motherfuckers who are preying off of public domain for the gimmick and getting the notoriety for that shit.
Absolutely.
So I'll give it that. This one, and I had the same exact thought as Nate did about comparing it to Smile, which was a film last year that seemed like a lot of people love, but when I watch it, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get what makes it so special. I think it's well made. I think some of the performances are good in it, but it's just not for me. This is not one of my type of movies. I think it's similar to Smile, It Follows, all that type of stuff. I'm glad people like it, but it's just not for me.
And It Follows, but It Follows is. Would you say It Follows a lot better than this?
Yes.
And people shit on It Follows a lot.
Yeah.
And
It Follows is one of the best movies of the last 10 years.
It's a much better film than this. But who knows?
So you guys,
you go on the next one.
We will in a second, but we got a request from Kathy, one of our longtime viewers. She wants to know if we can say if any of these are must watches. This to me is not a must watch.
No, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if the next one is either.
It's all of our opinion. It doesn't really. I mean, it's not really definitive. Yeah. We're all different,
right? Yeah. I mean, I think once you get to the top 10, maybe you can say
I would say top 10 must watch.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a must watch. In my opinion.
No. And it's not one of the best of the year. This was a sneaky one for me, Birth and Rebirth. I know Seth and Nate got to see it. I'll let you guys. I got to use the bathroom.
Okay.
Fucking Carla.
I had this number 21 on mine. Seth, you didn't see this, did you? Or did you? Yeah, you did. You just recently watched it. Or did you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it was at 21 or 22 on mine as well.
Okay, so we're in around the same area, and that shouldn't reflect on negatively because again, I saw 60, so 21 is pretty good. Ray had it at 16. It was directed by Laura Moss, their feature debut, and Laura worked mostly as a production designer. And it starred Marion Ireland, who was in The Dark and the Wicked last year, and Judy Reyes, who was on Scrubs. I kept watching the movie the whole time, like, who is this lady? I know her. Yeah. But Laura Moss It says Laura Moss devised a story concept based on their obsession with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in the early 2000s. Moss began a first draft of 60 pages consisting of mainly imagery and story ideas. Brendan J. O'Brien, their longtime writing partner, then outlined the plot and wrote the second draft. Moss explained to filmmaker that tends to be how we work. His drafts are too long. My drafts are too short. We bat scenes back and forth. And by the end of the process, we don't even remember who touched what. We're just very much married by the end of it. So, Seth, you want to talk about what it is? What the story is?
Yeah. So basically there's two different women who are who lead this movie. One is a doctor who's very weird and very off-putting, who is conducting secret research. And
Does she work in a morgue? Or she just
she works like in a morgue. Yeah. And she has in her personal life outside of work, she jerks off dudes in the bathroom to get their sperm and injects herself so she can I'm
glad I came back at that part.
So she could have so she could force herself to have an abortion to continue her research. Meanwhile, there's this other woman who's a nurse who what is she, like for like an OBGYN or whatever, and she has a daughter, and her daughter dies of some sort of bacterial infection, and basically the off-putting doctor takes the body and brings it back home to do her experiment. And the mother is looking for, she's not letting up about the body going missing. She tracks this woman down and finds out that the kid has been brought back.
You can't just not release
and
the
then
body.
she starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they start working together. And I will say this, it's low on my list, like, in the 20s, only because it's a movie I'll probably won't rewatch.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is a very, very, very good movie. It's a very fucked up movie too. I'll tell you that. Like the whole thing in the beginning with the daughter, that was actually kind of heartbreaking, because it's like there's been so many times where it's like, I've yelled at my kids or whatever, and it's like you really don't know if that's the last time you're gonna see them alive. Like, so that's like, that was heartbreaking. And then the extent of what the mother does towards the end, very fucked up. Very, very fucked up. So I think this is a really good. It's a really good sort of totally inspired by Frankenstein type story. And another thing I like about it too is it doesn't really fumble in the third act like a lot of movies have this year. Like, it's a very consistent movie. They don't try to go over the top. There's no big major, like, action sequences or anything like that. It's a very consistent movie with its tone and with its story, and everything that's happening. It's very good. I just don't think I'll ever rewatch it.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to that, because I pretty much agree with you, is I think Marin Ireland, who played the doctor, she was off-putting, but I think she was awesome at it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I thought she did great in the role. I probably won't watch this again.
I'd say this is a must-watch for the year. Even if it's
a one-time watch. Actually, a one-time watch. Yeah, I agree with you. It's streaming on Shudder. If anybody has the ability to watch it there, check it out. And Infinity Pool was a huge disappointment.
Oh, that's
interesting. That's the next one we have. We're talking about
Infinity Pool.
Infinity Pool.
Yeah, I had this number 20. Ray, you had it at 15. I think are we the only two that watched it, or did anybody else watch it?
I don't know. Jared, did you get to watch this one? This one seems like it's right up your alley.
It is, but I did not.
It was available on Hulu when I watched it. I think it still is. It's, first of all, I think you get two powerhouse performances from Alexander Skarsgård and of course the fucking brilliant Mia Goth, who carries this movie, in my opinion. She's amazing. It's fucking weird.
Yeah,
It's
son
so
of
weird.
Cronenberg, you know?
Yeah.
Brandon Cronenberg.
Son of Cronenberg. That sounds like a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the
Starring
Infinity
Basil Rathbone.
Pool. Infinity Pool is you know, it's about these. It has to do. You know, I have this to read. I wrote this down. He was talking about developing it. He said he developed the story from actual experiences he had on unsatisfying vacations and a science fiction story about killing clones he had been writing. The film started as a short story just about the first execution, and as I was expanding it into a feature, I kept going back to a vacation I went to about 20 years ago to an all-inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic. It was surreal because they would bus you in the middle of the night so you couldn't see any of the country. They would just drop you off at the resort compound that was in fact surrounded by a razor wire fence. You couldn't leave, much like in the film, and there was a kind of fake town where you could go shopping. The Chinese restaurant and the horrible discotheque in the movie are both based on that actual resort. And the scene with the man on the ATV on the beach being chased by guards actually happened. And then at the end of the week, they bust you back during the day, and you could see that the actual immediate surrounding country, which was very poverty stricken. There were people living in shacks. That contrast was obviously horrible, but also surreal because you realize you had never actually entered the country. You were just dropped into this strange pocket of a sort of alternate dimension that had grown up to become this tacky Disneyland mirror image of reality. And when I read that, I thought, this kind of reminds me of when on our honeymoon we went to the Bahamas, and we went to Nassau, or the Atlantis is, or where that big luxurious hotel where like they had like the Oprah suite that costs like, I don't know, $100,000 a night or some shit like that. And it's this very fancy casino hotel. And then outside everything else is like third world country, you know, just poverty. And, you know, when you get into it, it's like, oh, everything's so well landscaped and everything. So the movie is like these people, he's on holiday vacation in this place, and he runs into this couple, Mia Goth and her husband or whatever, and they get fucked up and they kill somebody. They run somebody over, and Alexander Skarsgård is going to go on trial, and he can be executed, but if he has enough money, like the wealthy getting out of things, he can clone himself, and the clone will be executed in his stead, but he has to watch it. And the thing is, like, it creates this whole crazy Cronenberg style obsession of people who love watching their clones be murdered or watching themselves be murdered.
Like and doing bad shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And they keep doing horrible shit. It's almost like it has, touches of Hostel, or, you know, where if you have enough money, you can entertain yourself by doing completely ungodly, immoral shit to the fullest, into a strange perversion of, I don't know. I think it's pretty fucking great. It
was something else, man. There's a lot of crazy visuals in this movie. Mia Goth is the ringleader of all this, and of course, we do get another unwarranted jerk-off scene.
There's a lot of masturbation in movies lately.
I still like in Birth or Rebirth. I'd like to masturbate you in the bathroom.
Yeah,
or something like that. I thought that was funny. Yeah, it's definitely. I think this is an actual must-watch movie.
Yeah.
It may not be my favorite of the year, but for Mia Goth alone and the visuals alone, and the idea of watching your own clone die, and the question I always have with that is, and they ask in the movie, is like, which one's the real you? Do you think you're the real you, or did you watch the real you die? It's interesting movie, Jared. This one, if you haven't seen it, this is right up your fucking alley, man. Right up your alley. So
it's a Cronenberg.
Exactly.
Even if it's his son, it's a Cronenberg.
Yeah, and he thinks like his dad, apparently. Maybe he should have remade Rabid.
What's going on in that house?
Right.
I don't know if I want to go Canada.
No. What's happening in the Cronenberg household?
What's going on up there?
What do you think conversations at dinner were like?
That very calm Cronenberg voice.
Right.
So, son, pass the potatoes.
Not a lot of conversation.
Do you think that the original or a clone that actually one and can't leave.
It's all open to interpretation.
Yeah, it really is. I honestly think that the clones were. I think the real people were still there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Moving on. Totally Killer is number 15. What a fun movie.
Yeah.
What a fun. Time travel is never going to be looked at the same now because this is something I really liked about this movie. This is, of course, a time travel movie. They go back in, 1988 or something like that?
87.
87.
Yeah.
But I like that whatever happens in real time in the past changes the future immediately. I love that. I love that you don't see that in time travel movies.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun. The newspapers changed. It was just a fun movie overall. I think all of us, maybe, I don't know if Jared did. What do you think of it, Nate? We're the only ones here right now.
Yeah, I liked it. It was directed by Nachka Khan, who made Always Be My Maybe with Ali Wong and
I
Randall
like
Park.
that movie. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good one.
and you worked on, I think, Randall Park's TV show. Was that Straight Off the Boat? Or
Straight Off the Boat? Yeah, that was a good show,
and a few others, I think, and directed some of Ali Wong specials.
Randall Park's underrated.
I love that guy. Yeah,
I do.
and Ali's really funny.
I liked him when he played Jim Halpert.
This movie, oh yeah, Asian Jim.
Yeah.
The movie stars Kiernan Shipka, who played Sabrina.
Sabrina, she was
Sabrina.
good.
She's really interesting. This movie falls into that same thing, kind of freaky, Happy Death Day to You kind of vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun slasher movie where, so her mom is played by, what's her name from Happy Gilmore and Modern Family. I can't remember her name.
Julie something.
Yeah, she her and her friends were attacked by this killer in 1987 when they were teenagers, and the killer was killed or disappeared. And anyway, the killer shows back up and kills her mom, and her friend is a science nerd and has created a time machine. It's in like a photo booth.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes in it. She goes back to 1987. So it's like Back to the Future, where she's now in 1987 with her mom, who she finds out is a mean girl. And all the girls who died were her friends, and her dad was like the hot hunk with the dipshit. And anyway, like she's stuck in the past, like Back to the Future, and there's a serial killer on the loose, and she knows that this killer is going to kill these girls. Like it's part of the town history. The Sweet 16 killer, I think is what it's called. The guy was called. And he wears this mask. It looks like Johnny Bravo or something. Mm-hmm. And but the thing is, the murders are happening out of order, so she can't totally predict who's going to die, who's going to buy it, whatever. So we had another movie like that this year. Was It's a Wonderful Knife. Has similar things going on. Time travel, kind of going back and forth. But yeah, Totally Killer was a really fun movie with a great cast.
Great title too.
Great title, yeah.
Seth, you liked this one too, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I liked, I kind of liked, I liked the main actress especially, and then I also kind of liked the way that they played with like a modern day teen with modern day sensibilities, experiencing what life was like in the 1980s, and sort of like how the conflicting ideologies, and just finding out her mom was an asshole. I thought that was a lot of fun. I think it's definitely a fun movie. I liked it.
Yeah, if you're in for a fun slasher with time travel, check it out. Jared, did you get to see this one? I don't remember if this was on your list or not.
Yeah, no.
It's only on Prime.
It'd be one of them palate cleansers you talked about earlier.
Yeah, if you got Prime, check it out.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's a good one. It's not corny or bad.
And moving on to 14 is on Shudder, Brooklyn 45. I think, Nate, you and I only saw this one.
Yeah, and we have it at the same spot on our list, number 14.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah, I first of all, I love the cast.
Oh, yeah.
All of them. All 6 of them are great. Larry Fessenden, I think he is extremely underrated as an actor.
He is really coming back lately. Like, he's been in a lot of stuff.
Last year or 2 years ago with Jacob's Wife.
Yeah.
He was in that as the main character aside Barbara Crampton.
And he was in We Are Still Here, right?
We Are Still
Yes.
Here. Yeah, he
Which
was
this-
really good in that.
Which this is from the same director, Ted Geoghegan. I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, I don't either.
He directed that movie, and this movie's set at the end of World War II. There's a lot of World War II movies or that era, and basically it's a brownstone in Brooklyn, and these people are all military adjacent, or they know each other from working in the military. And Fessenden, I can't remember what he was. I think he's a major or
I think he was their commanding officer.
He's a commanding officer, and he has called them to his home. His wife has recently killed herself, and they don't know this, but he wants to have a seance to talk to her.
Yep.
And so they reluctantly, thinking he's crazy, go with it, and they witness something, and it just spirals from there. I don't want to give anything away. Go into this movie blind.
The one thing I want to say about it is if you like movies that just give you that paranoia feeling and keep you on the edge of your seat, this is it. This will do that for you. And you'll forget there are supernatural elements, I will say that, but you'll forget completely all about it because some of the greatest like dialogue is in this movie.
Well, it becomes kind of a siege, turning on each other, that type of movie where you're like everyone's at fighting, like debating on what to do and how to, like they get locked in there.
Like the third act of The Thing in a way.
Yeah, and it's all
John Carpenter's The Thing. Sorry, Seth.
Yeah, it could be a stage play. It's all one set. These 5 or 6 actors.
Yeah,
Christina.
That's what it felt like too. Was because they basically takes place in the one room.
Yeah. And the guy that wrote it again, Ted, he said he reached out to his late father, who was a quadriplegic Air Force veteran, who became a U.S. history teacher, and the filmmaker spent several months detailing the plot with his dad, ensuring that it was both historically and military accurate. And another little horror thing, all the characters are named after characters or people who worked on Sorority House Massacre 2.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
That's hilarious. I like that.
This is a really great, unexpected horror movie. It's on Shudder. I think it's a must.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. One thing I want to point out, and I can't remember her name, so I'm gonna look it up. The two actors stood out. One of them is Anne Ramsey. Christina Cleave
played Linda in the Halloween remake.
The Rob Zombie Halloween.
Yeah.
Good movie. Check it out. Fessenden is fucking fantastic as usual. I love the guy. I think he's underrated. It's on Shudder. Check it out, everyone. All right, this one's gonna be fun to talk about. Number 13, Cobweb. So, Jared, did you see this one?
Negatory, good buddy.
Okay. I'm going to make sure before we get into each one whether or not you've seen it. This one, in my opinion, had all the makings of a great horror movie. It just, by the midway point towards the end, it kind of failed to deliver. And this is kind of goes with my movies that didn't stick the landing, because I love the beginning. I thought the performances from Anthony Starr and what's her name? The mom.
I forget her name.
Yeah, I always forget her name, but I liked her.
Yeah, I've always liked her. She was in Perks of Being Mean Girls. She was in Mean Girls. She was on Freaks and Geeks, I think, too.
She was.
She also played Annie Wilkes in the second season of Castle Rock.
Yes, she did. Yeah, Lily. No.
Shit, yeah.
What's her name? I liked her a lot. I'm looking it up. Lizzie Kaplan.
Who's gonna win?
Here's an odd thing. It's number 13. It was also 13 on Seth and Ray's list.
Oh. Well, I know Seth. So Nate, I asked you because a lot of people like this one. I asked you on your live stream when you were. I think you were drawing the Night of the Living Dead Ben piece that you did that turned out really great. But what did you think of this? And I want to hear Seth, because I know Seth has a good take on this as well.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it had, like you said, the makings of a lot of great stuff. Like, it should have been something I loved. I got a lot of vibes of Black Phone from last year, just kind of the overall kind of feeling about it, maybe. But ultimately, I kind of, as I rewatched it, because I tried to rewatch it because I know it was really popular, I just couldn't get with it. But Samuel Bolden, who directed it, sounds like this guy comes from low budget horror, like myself, and he actually comes from fan films. He made a Batman fan film called Ashes to Ashes that I haven't seen, but I kind of want to see that. Had Harley Quinn on the cover. Yeah, I have it at number 39, but again, out of 60, it's not too bad. It's a middle of the road movie for me. This image right here is creepy. It has a lot of creepy moments.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think there were better movies. For sure, basically. It's a middle of the road for me, which is not bad. I think it's worth watching.
Yeah, I like Lizzie Kaplan's boobs, by the way.
There you go.
Steph, what did you think of this one? Just want to throw that out there.
I really enjoyed this one, for especially the first 2/3 of the movie. I was really in, like, I thought, like you said, the performances were really good from Anthony Starr and Lizzie Kaplan, and even the little kid I thought was good too.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was some good direction. I thought the score was really good. Where it lost me was in the third act, because at a certain point, I did kind of like the twist a little bit, but I think they went a little with it, and then it just kind of became like a CG mess, in my opinion. But I think it's got some good creepy visuals in it. I think I think it's it's a good movie. It just kind of falls apart at the end for me. But yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out, I think, even especially for the beginning, especially with the intrigue you get from the first 45 minutes to an hour. So it's number 13. Number 12 is Knock at the Cabin, another early one.
Well, the thing too is like, I was just one thing on Cobweb though. Like, I was engaged, and to be honest with you, Amber was too, because like she sat down, and she doesn't really like horror movies as much. So like she was like, okay, I'm gonna go upstairs now. But then like she was like watching the movie, and then she stuck it out throughout the whole thing. Like, so it grabbed her as well, someone who doesn't really care for horror movies as much.
And I think this movie does that. It does grab people. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Number 12, Knock at the Cabin. I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought Dave Bautista really showed his acting chops in this movie.
Oh, yeah. I had something about that. M. Night Shyamalan said that part, because it's based on a book, a book called Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. And M. Night Shyamalan had read it, really liked it. He said that the part that Dave Bautista plays was an impossible role. It's a giant who can emote and do 30 pages of monologues. This doesn't exist. This person doesn't exist. And then I was like, wait a minute. What about that guy in Blade Runner 2049? Like, I don't know much about wrestling, so it wasn't like I had that in my head. And probably if I did, I might have been blinded to the fact that this person was an amazing actor. They said his name was Dave Bautista, and so I reached out, and then Dave reached out, and then we met. And when I spoke to him, I found a human being who was ready to start over again, take away all the success that he had and unlearn it, and then start over. He just wanted to be proud of himself, and I was like, "I'm down, brother. Let's do it right the right way from beginning to end." And he's like, "I don't know if I can do this," and I go, "But I do." I like you said, it was one of the early movies of the year, and sometimes we forget. And also, M. Night Shyamalan movies come with a stigma anyway. People kind of want to not like him, not like his movies, or they think he is always overrated.
Weird. Yeah, weird.
He's one of those guys people root against, like a Zack Snyder, that kind of shit. And now David Gordon Green. it's like you betray us once or you do something we didn't like and like fuck you for the rest of your fucking career kind of thing. And
Right.
I think that this movie, I wanted to rewatch it. I rewatched it this week because I felt like maybe I fell out of love with it because I remember really liking it, and it kept going down my list as I watched more movies over the year. I thought, wait a minute, that movie was fucking great. So I went back and watched it again, and I'm like, yeah, it hasn't lost anything. This is really, it reminded me of like a Stephen King novel. Like the story just felt like something Stephen King would have wrote.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
And
agree with you 100%.
Stephen King was a big fan of the book. He said it was a tremendous book, thought-provoking and terrifying with tension that winds up like a chain. He said it's one of the writer's best. It was that good. Stars a guy from Mindhunters. Just to give people, if you don't understand what it is, this gay couple and their adoptive daughter are renting a cabin in the woods, and the daughter's out catching butterflies, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And Dave Bautista shows up and starts talking to her, befriends her, and he says, I think he's a teacher, and he's real nice to her, real kind to her, and he says, this is me, and we're here to do something, and I hate to, but he's not mean. Like he's having to do something he doesn't want to do. Unfortunately, he's been called upon. He's been shown something kind of like by God or something that the world is going to end, and it all humanity in the world rests upon this cabin and these three people and something they have to do. And these four people who are strangers, who are all different types of people, but ultimately good, decent, or normal people, are presenting this idea to this couple, and of course they don't want to believe it. But again, like Stephen King, great, weird, supernatural, biblical kind of thing, it just starts to unfold, and it's like really intriguing. And I don't think it ends poorly. I think it stays consistently strong. I think it's one of M. Night. I think it's my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie since he was really rocking it back in Signs. Yeah, I think it's my favorite movie since Signs of his. I
agree. I pretty much agree with everything you said. I just great performances. The little girl was great. It kept you like, are they being for real? And they would show things on TV. I liked it. I thought it was good. I like The Black Phone. Still have not watched Nathan Thomas Miller's better movie. What was that?
I don't know.
I
only when I mentioned Black Phone was Cobweb, and I like Black Phone better. Oh, he means he's talking about the boy behind the door.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
Was that last year or the year before? It was the year before.
I think it was the year before. Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 11 is Hell House LLC Origins, the longest title on the list. The Carmichael Manor. I don't know. Who watched this? I know I watched. This is number 2 on my list.
I did. Yeah, you had it really high.
I loved it.
I had it at 19. Yeah, dude, it's fucking great.
I don't know why these movies, like, I'm not a huge found footage type of fan, but these movies, all 4 of them have grabbed me, and I like them a lot. I'm not a huge ghost guy either, but I don't know. These movies, you turn the lights off and just watch, and turn everything else off as well, and it just grabs you. Yeah. I loved it. And then this one, in my opinion, was the spookiest of all 4 of them. It might be the second best, maybe even the best of all 4 of those movies. But I'm glad you liked it. When I watched this, I was like, I'm going to be the only one who liked this.
No, I liked it. I've liked the Hell House. I can't remember if I watched the third one, though, so I need to go look at that one, because I know I saw the first 2, but I could not remember if I saw the third. And when this popped up, I'm like, what? How many are there? And so I watched it, and I was like, I think you're right. This could be the best one. It was really creepy. Like I said, turn out the lights. Just let yourself go to that place. Very creepy stuff.
Yeah, I loved it. I don't think Seth would like it. He's not a big ghost guy.
Yeah, it's not his thing.
Jared, I don't know have you seen the other ones?
I've only seen the first one.
Okay. Definitely catch up. They're all on Shudder now.
The first one was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the first one. Definitely check out the other ones, Jared. I think if you like the first one, you'll absolutely love the others. They're all different, too. All of them are different. Yeah. And this one of the things I liked about this one, because I don't want to go too much into it because, you want to see what happens on screen, but like a lot of times you're like, just leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we didn't say what it was, right? It's like these two women are at this house. It's like an old manor that are they renting or are they just?
I don't know. I think they're only there for a couple of days.
Yeah,
I
and
know
like
that.
there
I
was
think they're investigating the paranormal. I think they have like a
it's known
channel
to be
or something like that.
haunted. Yeah, and it's tied to the hotel that was in the original movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the same town, whatever. So yeah, I think you can watch it without seeing the other movies.
Yeah.
But
It almost works like it could be a prequel, honestly.
If you tolerate found footage at all and you like a good spooky haunted house movie, this is a must.
Yeah, Dan Johnson, check it out. It's on Shudder. It's totally worth watching. It's got some of the spookiest moments of the series, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Let's power forward to number 10, and this was an early one and a good one. Sick.
Yeah,
This is a COVID-based movie, essentially.
A really good COVID-based movie. This is also from the man who gave us slashers back in the '90s, Kevin Williamson, who wrote the Scream series, and directed by John Hyams, who made a movie called Alone that I really really liked a couple of years ago. I don't know if you guys saw Alone.
No.
Kind of a woman being chased by a psychopath, gets caught, taken to a cabin, and escapes, and is being chased through the woods by him. Really good movie, Alone. And this one, I really liked. It stars this is Gideon Adlon, who is the daughter of Pamela Adlon, who people may remember from Grease 2, and I think she was on Facts of Life, and she was on Louis. She did a lot of shows with Louis C.K. Has her own TV show. This is her daughter, Gideon, and her other daughter, Odessa, was the star of Hellraiser last year.
That's right.
And so, you want to tell them what it's about? I had number 8 on my list. Well, what is? All right, so it's
my memory is a little fuzzy on this
so
one, but I remember two girls go to a secluded place to hunker down for COVID, right?
Yeah, it's during COVID. I think it's like 2020.
Yeah,
and the beginning of the movie, this guy is murdered. He gets these text messages and he's murdered. And then these two girls are college students and they're going to go to her family's nice house out in like the wilderness and kind of isolate because everyone's being ordered to isolate. And they're not taking it totally seriously, the whole COVID thing. But they start getting the same texts and the killer shows up at the house trying to kill them. And I won't go into the motive of the killer. It's just this. One of the things the director said he really responded to when he read the script was that it doesn't have a second act. It's a first act, third act movie. So it doesn't. It sets up things, and then once the killer shows up, it becomes it just becomes this nonstop chase scene for the second half of the movie of these girls trying to escape this guy. And Wrath of Becky's a good one. I liked Wrath of Becky.
He's going to post his list one by one.
His list? Okay.
Yeah.
I liked Wrath of Becky. So we're talking about Sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really dug this movie. I thought it was just a fun watch. Again, has that Kevin Williamson. He knows his genre. He knows what he's doing, and it's a strong. I think it's a strong one.
I think one of the things I enjoyed about it, which might be weird, was I'm surprised we didn't hear more stories like this coming out of 2020 and COVID.
Yeah,
I don't want to get to that because that would spoil the plot.
Because it does have a lot to do, with the combative nature we all had of what we should be doing.
Exactly.
Who was being who was not being considerate of each other, and who was being responsible and who was being irresponsible, and so it's. I hope it doesn't date itself by doing that. People who didn't go through this situation. But I don't think it will. I think people will be able to understand.
If it does, it'll be 20, 25 years from now that it would date it. Most people with that.
Yeah.
It's still pretty fresh on a lot of people.
Look at it as science fiction. Yeah, I mean, now, like people are kind of sleeping on how bad COVID is coming back, and
I just got over it.
There's a respiratory infection going around. It's supposed to be really, really fucking bad right now.
Yep.
People are just like ignoring it. And I saw a friend of mine, post this week about how people need to start taking this seriously. That people are getting really, really fucking sick.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking it seriously. I think the schools here are too. But we'll talk about that off.
Yeah.
Let's move on to number 9, which is definitely one I want Seth to talk about. I watched this yesterday, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I liked it. My son loved it. And I know, Seth, this was what, your number 2 or 3?
3. No. Yeah, number 3.
It moved to my number 3, but it was number 1 for a long time. I absolutely love this movie. I saw it in the theater when it came out, and I just really enjoyed it. Now, this is based on a small chapter in Bram Stoker's Dracula about Dracula's voyage from Romania to London, and this is the movie that details what happens to the crew. So that's basically what it's about. I love the fact that they kept Dracula as like this creature. I know some of the CG wasn't like fantastic, but I also love, like, for me, like I kind of felt like the filmmaking was just fantastic. Like there was like a patience to the storytelling. This wasn't something that that just got going like right off the bat. It really took its time building up the suspense, building up the characters, and the way and their dynamic with each other. And so I thought it was like sort of like old school patient filmmaking. And I think the score is really good. I think it's got a really good atmosphere to it. I watched it again today to kind of have it fresh in my mind. But I absolutely love The Last Voyage of the Meter, and it sucks that it failed at the box office. One thing I will say that I didn't like is
we won't get a sequel.
I know. Well, one of the things I didn't like was like the very tail end of the movie, because one, Ray and I joked about this before it came out. I was like, if anyone survives, I'm calling bullshit. Because we know no one
but the way they did it.
This.
Right.
But that's another thing, though, is with certain characters surviving, and then like they kind of like imply he's going after Dracula. It starts to sort of interfere with Bram Stoker's story, because I felt like this could have been. This was very self-contained, and where it could still fit perfectly with Bram Stoker's story as it's supposed to happen.
Right.
Money. Let's make a sequel.
I agree that the ending was a little corny.
Yeah. I think. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, man.
Oh well, This was like my Nosferatu last year. Like, I was really excited about this movie, and I think my enthusiasm may have hurt. But I mean, you talked about the filmmaking. This is made by Andre Overdahl, who made The Autopsy of Jane Doe, Troll Hunter, and Scary Stories Still in the Dark. So it was a fucking great filmmaker. And I really like the cast, especially I like Aisling, I think is her name, who was in The Nightingale, which I know Jared watched that movie.
Yes.
Love The Nightingale. She's been fantastic. So I was really excited that she was in it. And I do like the movie. I like the atmosphere. And when I saw Javier Botet was playing Dracula, and I saw this makeup right here, I think that's what ruined the movie for me, was like they had this amazing actor in this amazing makeup, and they went CGI with it, and almost every shot he's in looks like it's been touched or fucked with digitally. And I wish it hadn't been. I wish they'd had the balls to just let it play with the actor, and because I think if it was like that, I think the movie would jump up my list in an instant. I think it would be in my top 15, top 10, because it had everything I wanted, but that shit just ruined it for me. It's like Will Smith's I Am Legend is a good movie, but they did the CGI shit, and it just ruins the movie for me. And
to be fair, the CGI is really bad now.
I was really bad in that. But the thing is, in this movie, everything's really dark, so they're able to hide it, but it's still kind of,
a little bit, yeah. little bit, yeah.
And no
You
Last
got-
of Us counts.
Yeah, Last of Us
Jared
is
had
not a
it pretty
movie,
high on
but
his
yeah,
list as well.
Yeah, Jared had it number 3, and you had it at number 3. Dre had it at 10, and I had it at 30.
I had it at 10.
Yep.
Huh. I liked it. I thought it was cool.
I
Jared?
enjoyed the period piece aspect of
Mhm.
it. That part, they actually did held really true to it.
I think one of the best things also about it's not just there's a lot of great character performances in this. Corey Hawkins,
Yeah.
Liam Cunningham was awesome, and David Dastmalchian, I can never pronounce his name. Nate, he looked like he could have been your brother, by the way, in that movie.
Oh, that
I
guy,
just-
yeah.
I
It was
looked
a
at him, I
very
was like,
different
Did
role
Nate
for
make this
him,
movie
too.
and not tell?
Yeah, it's very different role than Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he really because he was also in that
He's in,
very
like,
very short.
Ant-Man movies, and yeah.
Well, yeah, but he was in Boogeyman this year also in a small
Oh,
role.
yeah.
But he's a big horror fan. He's a big horror
Yeah.
guy. It's
Yeah.
great to see him. But he was good in this. I didn't realize it was him at first. I honestly thought it was you, Nate. I was like,
And the
son of a
one
bitch.
dude, what's the guy's name from Game of Thrones, right?
Liam Cunningham.
Cunningham, who was in like Dog Soldiers. And,
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's a good actor.
good actor. I mean, this movie had it, and maybe if I watch it on the smaller screen, I won't be bothered by the CGI as much. I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
might be. It didn't bother me when I watched it yesterday because I watched it on Blu-ray, and I didn't take me out of it. I really liked the setting, like Jared was saying, and there's some great character moments. I really like Hawkins as the doctor. He was
Dr.
good.
Dre.
Yeah, Doctor. That's right. Yeah, he was really good. I didn't care for that ending that he was talking about off the boat, but
Yeah.
overall, I liked it. I thought it was a good one. I'm glad I bought it. Honestly,
And the kid, I think I read it was the kid in Cobweb, isn't it?
is it?
Yep.
Toby.
Yep. Well,
No shit. Okay,
Yep.
well, he's going to be in a lot of stuff.
and he was
Alright.
he has a really good performance in this one too. Like
he did.
like when he's like
Especially
upset
that
after like
scene-
what happens to the livestock, he's just very very convincing in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, well, even that scene towards the end of his part of the movie. I don't
Yeah.
want to give anything away. I mean, everybody knows everybody dies on the Demeter, so
Mm-hmm.
that's not giving anything away. Anyway,
Or do that.
let's move on to number 8. I haven't seen this one. In My Mother's Skin. Jared and Nate. I mean, Nate and Seth. Jared, did you see this one? I don't remember.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, this was one I kept putting it off for some reason, and I don't know why. Because as I'm watching it, I'm like texting you guys, going, "I may have a new number 1."
Yeah.
And it was number 1 until I rewatched what is my number 1 now. But it's number 2 for me. I think it's number 6 for Seth. He watched it maybe yesterday or day before yesterday. It's a movie from the Philippines by a guy named Kenneth Dagaton. It's another World War II film. It's based on the Filipino vampire mythos, the Aswang. And the director said it was based on a short film he wrote in 2015, a French film, and Pan's Labyrinth. In the short film, when I first wrote the story, it was a periodless film. I don't know the setting of the melee of this film. And then cut to 2020, when the pandemic hits, I was talking with my father, and he was telling me the story of my grandfather, who was a guerrilla soldier way back in World War II. And he was telling me about the anxiety, the claustrophobia, the depression of war, and having that external enemy come in your house. And it's World War II. And I felt the same way when the pandemic happened. So I told my producers, I think we need to make this a World War II film. I think that's the biggest difference between the short and this one. So in many ways, this is kind of a pandemic movie because the movie is set at the tail end of World War II in the Philippines. The Japanese have taken occupation of the Philippines, and the Japanese are losing the war. So it's about this family, kind of a wealthy family, and their father was the Japanese have taken over, but the father is going to the Americans because the Americans are coming in, and he's trying to turn in, the Japanese are on the run, they're getting arrested, whatever, for war crimes and blah blah blah. And this dad apparently has been rumored to have taken Japanese gold. So these people are trying to get the gold. Well, the dad's gone off with the Americans to try to save everything and left his 2 children and the mother there alone in this mansion. And they're having to fend for themselves. And the mother gets real sick. So now the kids have to take care of themselves. And the daughter, who's fucking fantastic in this movie, this young actress, she falls. It's almost a Hansel and Gretel thing. She comes across this character here who is a fairy, who is a creature who eats flesh but deceives. She offers her what she needs, food, whatever they need. Kind of like, hey, take this, but with they're just being a deceiver. She really wants to eat. She's not who she says she is, but it's like this fairy offering you everything you need. Just take this, but it's going to have a cost, like a genie. If you take this. So again, has a lot of influence from Pan's Labyrinth and Guillermo del Toro. I was just really blown away for it. Beautifully photographed, great filmmaking. The actress, the little girl, I think I wrote her name down here. I think this is her feature film debut, but she had done a lot of stage work. She's like 15 when they did this. Felicity Kyle Napoli. But I was amazed by it. It's on Shudder, I believe, or Prime. But it's a fantastic, epic, violent, bleak, heartbreaking.
It's on Prime for sure.
It's tough. It's a tough movie.
Yeah, Seth put it at number 6 on his list.
Yeah.
Which
Go
ahead.
Well, it was like it's one of those things where it was like initially I didn't have it on my list. I turned in my list. I had like 35, but Ray was kind of pussyfooting around with his list. I'm kidding. So I had time.
I was.
So I watched a couple more movies.
True story.
Yeah. So I had time, and Nate was going through some of the movies that were on my list. I was like, I should probably check this one out that he had very high on his, and so I watched it, and it's beautifully shot, absolutely beautifully shot. And one of the things I love about foreign horror films, and we'll get into this a little bit more later, is just how they have the balls to do stuff that American filmmakers would not do. Yeah. And there's a couple points, and especially towards the end, man, where they take some big swings, and I think it's visually fantastic, and it's just a well done movie, and I was certainly engaged with it. So I appreciated the recommendation pretty much from Nate, and I sent him a message after. I'm like, you're 2-0 with me now, because like last year you recommended A Wounded Fawn to me, which I really liked. So at the end of every year, Nate's got to recommend one movie to me.
And so the movie's also kind of a allegory on war and military occupation. How a country will come in and invade your country and offer you like, hey, if you do this for us, we'll give you this. We'll take care of you. We'll give you the funding or the food or things, the supplies you need. And the locals are just kind of stuck with a situation where like these things are occupying my home, these people, these foreign things, who are really there also for their own agendas and their own wants and their own things. And that's what this character, this fairy, is sort of a stand-in for the Japanese or the Americans or in the Philippines.
Okay, so Nate, do you want to introduce this next one, because you got the mask?
I got the mask. Yeah.
Number 7 is Dark Harvest.
Dark Harvest.
I love this movie.
Yeah,
I did. Did anybody else love it like me?
It's awesome.
It is awesome. I loved it all the way through. Yeah. It's so weird. Like, Jared, did you see this one?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, good.
I thought it was a turd.
Huh? You thought it was a turd?
I'm just kidding.
No, he's got number 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say a turd.
I was gonna say it was in my top 10. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
This is coming from a guy, I mean, David Slade, who directed Hard Candy and 30 Days a Night. I mean, this is a big time director, really, in this genre. And it's based on a book. I remember reading the book when I came across it because it sounded like something I would love.
Yeah.
Written by a guy named
great cover
Norman Patridge. It's set in 1962. I'll let somebody else talk about it. If he wants to set it up, what's it about?
Seth? I talk too much.
Okay, it's set in it's set in what, like 1963 or something like that.
1962.
And and there's like this town, very agriculture based town, and they have this sort of tradition where all the teenage boys, what they do is they lock them up and starve them for like 3 days, and then they send them out on Halloween to go kill this thing called what was it?
Sawtooth Jack.
Sawtooth Jack. And basically, if you do kill it before it can get to the church, basically you win. You win a lot of money. You know, your family gets a nice new house, and you get a car. But your other family members can't participate. And so basically the main character's brother wins the previous year, and then he goes away, and then the younger brother wants to participate, even though he's not really technically allowed to, but he kind of defies and does it anyway. And there's some twists and turns in it. I think one thing is I think it's got a good visual appeal to it. Like I love this shot right here, like on the screen, like when this moment happens. I think it's fantastic, and I like the look of the Sawtooth Jack. But I did see the twist coming a mile away. I thought that was so obvious right from the beginning. And I never read the book, and I'm very curious. I do kind of want to read it now, but yeah, I think it's a very good movie. I think it's well directed. I really like the story and sort of like I forgot to mention that they have to do this because otherwise all their crops will get destroyed.
Yeah,
but I like the rules that they establish, and I like the characters, and I think it's really cool. I think it's a good movie to watch every towards Halloween.
I love the alternate kind of their whole harvest situation. I like I didn't quite see the twist coming or whatever, but I had a feeling something was up because of the way that certain people were acting. But the thing I liked about this movie, really, the setting was great. The early 1960s it's different. We don't see that very often. I like the small town vibe, and I liked how fucking nuts the guys went after 3 days being locked up.
Yeah, man.
They were kicking each other's ass, eating whatever they could. It was crazy, and it just really good cast too. I love the lead; he was good.
It's and you talked about the mask. It's the Crimson Ghost mask, which of course the Misfits have used as their logo forever. There's a lot of Misfits stuff in the movie, like in some of the dialogue and things. But what's wild about this is I actually wrote a short story like this 30 years ago, and it was based on a nightmare I had, where annually it was Halloween, and annually the dead would rise from the grave in my town, and all the older teenage boys got to go out with the dads and the uncles and all that and hunt the dead and shoot them and kill them, and then they would rebury them. But they would animate every Halloween, and it was like a competition. Everyone would go out and shoot and kill and all this, and
see who would get the most.
Yeah, whoever got the most kills would win, big prize or whatever. And like me and my friends were too young to do it, so we sneak out of the house, and we ended up getting trapped and saved by my dad and my uncle. And this was a nightmare I had. So I wrote the story, not realizing that it was inspired by an episode of Monsters TV show. There was an episode of the Monsters called My Zombie Lover that starred Tempest Bledsoe. And in that episode, that was every year. I don't know if it was Halloween, but the dead would rise from the grave, and the men would go out and kill the dead and rebury them. And Tempest Bledsoe's boyfriend died the year before, and he comes back, and she's still in love with him and wants to be with him. So it just, when I saw this movie, I was like, oh, or read the book, I was like, this reminds me of that nightmare I had that was inspired by that episode of that TV. Monsters was like a horror anthology show it was on in like the late
I feel like
80s.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was kind of like Tales from the Crypt, but on regular TV. And I think it was like probably 89, 90, something like that, 91. But yeah, so I dug this. It was, and it has this, even though it's set in 62, it has almost an alternate reality look.
That's
like
what I was, yeah.
A false, like a
100%,
surreal fairy tale kind of vibe about it.
That's why I was going to say alternate reality, but I don't know if it's,
almost like a Sin City kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
because also you can't seem to leave the city. Nobody, like there's a line where the girl in the movie theater, who happens to be like, I think the only black person in the whole movie, he's like, I've never met an outsider before. So it's like it almost feels like it's like bubble city. You can't, like, that's why he never gets to see his brother, because his brother went to California or something.
Yeah, it almost has a Stephen King kind of vibe.
Yeah,
we can't go out we're in the dome, and there's like another.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I want to see it again, and it's no longer available to watch, and I guess you have to rent it.
When it hits Blu-ray, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah, hope it does.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know if it ever went to theaters.
Yeah, buy the shit out of it. That makes no sense. Yeah, I wish I would have saw it in the theater. Actually, I didn't expect much from it, but I was like, "Holy cow, this is in my top. Gotta be my top."
I think
5.
it probably needed a star. It didn't really have any names in it, from what I remember.
It had Hopple or whatever from Saving Private Ryan. I can't remember his name. The coward.
Oh, the guy's dad.
Yeah,
I forget.
I know who you're talking about.
He was the linguist in Saving Private Ryan. The dad,
yeah, the one that spoke French and German.
Yeah,
I forget that.
He was a coward. He was, to me. Anyway. What?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I bought it from iTunes. I got to have a physical copy of this.
I need a physical copy. Like this digital shit.
Yeah, I am the same way. I may have like 900 movies on my Vudu account, but I've got also all of them on physical too. Anyway, Dark Harvest is an absolute must in my opinion. And before we get to our top 5, we have Scream 6. This was, in my opinion, the best way to end the franchise, which might happen now.
For a while. Liked it ain't going away.
No, I know, but I mean, the Scream 7's in a lot of trouble. But
yeah,
this was fun. I liked the shrine and all that different stuff. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I want to get the top.
We did a whole episode of this one too.
Yeah, but it was good. The reveal was a letdown.
Yeah, I liked everything except the reveal of the killers. I thought it was kind of predictable, and I didn't love the performances of the killers. But everything else is really fucking cool. It had a lot of cool stuff in it. I love the city, the New York City setting. I like the characters.
Changing it up a little bit.
I like Radio Silence. I think they're good filmmakers. I'm looking forward to see what they do next.
In a Halloween setting, let's not forget that.
Yeah, definitely. And I love this scene right here, just in a convenience store with an aged mask with a shotgun and all.
It has to be one of the best scenes in the franchise.
Oh yeah.
And
then bringing back Hayden, it was great to see.
I loved Kirby. It's a great scene with her and Mindy when they're trying to horror each other. I like that. Seth, anything before we move on? I know we're getting close to or cutting into your game time.
Yeah, the game's on.
The first.
Bill,
what?
The Bills just intercepted Tua. Anyway,
go Bills.
Scream 6. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I enjoyed it up until the reveal. I thought this one had a lot of really good tense moments in it, and I wish they kind of leaned more into the city thing. But there's parts of it that almost kind of reminded me like a little bit of Judgment Night. I know I've mentioned that to you guys before. But yeah, I thought this, and it was also good too for I kind of like was more open to these new characters, the core four, much more this time around, and I felt like their relationship with each other was handled much better. So I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 5, Thanksgiving. Yeah, this is one that Nate, I had to watch it. I actually paid $20 to rent this, but I split the cost with Seth. We both got to see it last night. I enjoyed this one. This is a throwback to the 90s slashers, and I like the cast for the most part. I love the killer's design. I thought he was cool, and the parade scene was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. With the top 5, I'm going to throw out our viewers' scores, the people that follow Horror Syndicate. So this has got a 77%. Nate, and then Seth. I don't know if Jared saw this one, but I know Seth has some things to say about it. Nate, you like this one a lot.
Yeah, my wife and I went and saw this when it opened, the night it opened, kind of a date night. We were in Florida, and the family watched our daughter, and we went out and saw this. So, and it was just a fun date movie kind of thing, and it was a movie that I'd been wanting to see since Grindhouse, because Grindhouse had all the fake trailers, and I thought that Eli actually nailed it better than everybody else. I thought the Thanksgiving trailer was the most. It looked and sounded and felt like a sleazy early 80s slasher film. And I was a little shocked that it wasn't really that. It had touches of it, but it's definitely far more Scream.
I was going to say there's less sleaze than I thought. I expected way more sleaze. It
really became more of a whodunit 90s Kevin Williamson style slasher film with a little bit of 80s flair thrown in there. But I really, really enjoyed it. I do like the look of John Carver, the mask. I wish he didn't have the jumpsuit. I wish he looked like he did in the trailer, the old trailer. But some cool things about this, Patrick Dempsey's, who plays the cop in the movie, his agent called up Eli Roth and said, "Hey, Dempsey is really interested in doing this movie," and Ross like, "Oh, I don't think we can afford him." And he's like, "No. Patrick really wants to do this. He's read the script. He fucking loves it. He wants to do a horror movie." So Patrick came to him, and then Gina Gershon called Eli and said, "When are you going to put me in a fucking horror movie?" And he goes, "Hey, I actually have a movie part for you." So those two names are in the movie because they wanted to be there.
I actually like her a lot as an actress, and I wish she would have been in this more. Patrick Dempsey is the world's sexiest man alive.
Oh yeah,
he was. Yes, he was. At one point,
that magazine came out this year when this movie came out, the same week. But the original idea, the original concept was different, and Eli said that he told his fellow writer, like, "Hey, let's pretend Thanksgiving was a movie from 1980 that was so offensive that every print was destroyed and all the scripts were burned and the director disappeared and the crew members changed their names. One person saved the trailer and uploaded it to the darkest corners of 4chan, and now it's made it out. So this is a 2023 reboot of that. Once we said that, it was freed up to us." And it sounds like Roth was really. I think this is Eli Roth's best movie since like the Hostel movies. I agree. And I think he really loved making this. It's kind of wild that it took him this long to make a slasher film, because it seems like what he should have been making for a while. And I think he really loved this because he's made that movie Borderlands, which is that video game, isn't it? Borderlands, which is probably a big movie. And he actually turned over that movie to Tim Miller to do the reshoots so he could focus completely on Thanksgiving. So I think his heart was in this movie. I think it shows. I just had a blast with it.
Yeah, I did too. I had fun, and I liked a lot of the kills and some of the things that didn't happen on purpose also. Especially the first, the beginning, the Black Friday incident was crazy.
Yeah.
That was wild. Seth, if you don't mind, give us your analysis. I know the Bills have the ball.
Yes, and they're moving down the field. I thought it was fun. Definitely fun. I wasn't over the moon about it, but I thought it was definitely a fun slasher. And my favorite moment in it is it's a totally Eli Roth thing where he kind of makes fun of he kind of makes fun of kids today because I love that one scene where it's like in the classroom, and there's that one kid. He's like, and that's why I'll never celebrate Thanksgiving again. And he slams the thing down.
Mhm.
He slams his report down on the floor, and then like the next scene, he's coming out of the classroom, and people are like rubbing his shoulders. I thought it was fucking hilarious. But
Yeah.
it's a
Well, he had to throw off his
it's a really
crossword app too.
yeah, it's a really fun movie.
Yeah, it was good. I had a lot of fun. I'm glad I watched it. I will buy this one. I do believe this is a must watch. So, Jared, if you have not seen this one, watch it. When you get the chance. I really wish I would have saw it in theater though.
Same here.
Yeah. Moving on to number 5. Originally, this one I gave a lot of shit to, but I really end up liking it overall. No One Can Save You.
Yeah, my number 1.
Yes.
It's like, well, first of all, our followers do not like it.
Yeah, no,
Aliens.
well, yeah, like the
But no one will save you or can save you.
the no one will save you.
Okay, I have this wrong.
You didn't like that much. Oh yeah, yeah. Like the Rotten Tomatoes, the critics loved it, 82%. The audience, 56%. Yeah, I think it was a movie that when it came out, it was a direct to streaming. There was a lot of hype, and I think people watching go, "This is stupid." I saw a lot of that. Oh, it was stupid ending, stupid. And I remember arguing with you guys, or at least you, Ray, about like you didn't like it. And I was like, oh man, I was really touched by them. You go, hey, some people don't like the ending, but then you rewatch. You kept saying, I'll rewatch it. And now the more and more I think about it, I like it. Now it's number 4 on your list. So I'm really happy that, again, like we sometimes owe movies another chance. And it's just like a lot of these movies that I've watched this week. I told Seth, I watched 30 movies in the last 30 days, and some of them you're like, you start to wear down a little bit, so you don't fully give them everything, or don't give them the attention, or they may be better than you're giving them credit for, because you're kind of like, well, I'm trying to make it through this list, and this is like The Sacrifice Game is probably better than I gave it a rating. But I had watched like 3 horror movies that day, and I was like, this one's not as great as this one or that one. You're watching something like In Your Mother's Skin, and then you watch The Sacrifice Game. The Sacrifice Game is going to feel very shitty compared to that one, just in many ways, but it may not be. But No One Will Save You, I just really, really liked it. And it's, one of 2 movies this year that are silent. John Woo's Silent Night, which I also went and saw, which is his action movie, which has no dialogue. This movie has... It
doesn't?
No, it doesn't. Like, there's no
weird.
dialogue in it. The only dialogue in Silent Night is like through text, because the main character gets shot in the throat and he can't talk. So
that's good. Anyway, that guy's a bad actor, in my opinion.
It's a RoboCop. Anyway, so in this movie, it's a home invasion movie, but it's an alien. It's kind of like Signs. We talked about Signs earlier with M. Night Shyamalan. And Stephen King actually really loved it. Said it was brilliant, daring, involving, scary. And he said you have to go back to 60 years to the Twilight Zone. And I watched that right before our episode tonight. He's talked about a Twilight Zone episode from season 2 called The Invaders that Richard Matheson wrote. It starred Agnes Moorehead, from Bewitched. And anyway, it's a silent film, a silent episode. There's no dialogue. Agnes Moorehead is this woman who lives in a shack, and a flying saucer lands in her shack, and this little small tiny robot character gets out and is trying to kill her, taser or whatever. I don't know what he's trying to do, but it was really, really fucking good. It's a really good episode. You can watch that on I think Prime has all of the Twilight Zones. Season 2, episode 15 or something. It's called The Invaders. Anyway, I just really like this. I like Caitlin Dever a lot. Someone mentioned Last of Us. I think she may be cast as Abby in season 2. A lot of people thought she would have been great for Ellie, which she does look a lot like Ellen Page, who Ellie looked like in the games. Movie was made by Brian Duffield, who made Spontaneous, which was a fun horror comedy from a year or 2 ago. And basically, this movie is this girl, Caitlin, plays Bryn, who is kind of the town pariah. no one talks to her, which really plays. It's not just a gimmick that there's no dialogue. It's the fact that she is that lonely that she has no one to talk to. No one talks to her. Everyone hates her. People spit on her. She goes into town trying to avoid it. When people spit in her face, she doesn't get angry because she's someone who feels she deserves it. And we don't know why she feels this way. So there's this great storyline going on. And I think it's better than people gave it credit for. I think people are missing things with it because of the silence, and
it's not the silence that plagued me the first time.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything about it. Originally when I went in, I was like, okay, so this is another gimmick movie. That's what I thought initially going into it. But everything there's a lot of tension in this movie. The aliens, it's an alien movie, are awesome in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're different shapes and sizes, and there's a lot of cool stuff that happens in this movie. And the ending was like not the greatest for me, and still it's not the greatest, but like first of all, she is the movie essentially. And she carries the movie, and she does such a great job. And I can't imagine being an actor and not saying a word almost at all.
It's a challenge. You have to have someone really fucking strong to do it. It's like Agnes Moorehead, who did that Twilight Zone episode. Apparently, when she read that she had no dialogue in that episode, she didn't want to do it, and she was talked into it by Rod Serling. And it really does. There's just something when you cannot vocalize what you're thinking and feeling, and Caitlin does a great job at this. And it's not. I've made a film where I had an actress who didn't get to say a lot. My Christmas short and Volumes of Blood 2. I purposely wrote it because I had gotten a little bit of criticism for Encyclopedia Satanica being too dialogue heavy, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to make one that has no dialogue. So. And I knew I needed a strong actress to pull it off. And the thing is, people responded more to Julie because she got the dialogue in that short, although Jessica was really doing the heavy lifting because she didn't get to speak. So people always get really impressed by people who are loud and say long monologues and cry and scream and get mad and all this.
Mia Goth and Pearl.
Yeah, but it's sometimes the people who have to do a lot without that crutch. It's a lot more difficult for an actor to do what Caitlin does in this film. And I watched it. Like I said, when I was watching this was my number one after I saw it for a long time. And then I watched In My Mother's Skin and I went, okay, I think this is my number one. So I was like, hold on, let me go back and watch No One Will Save You before I make that call, because it's been 6 months or so. And I watched it again. I'm like, okay, yeah, I still love this movie. And the ending I find very touching, and going back and watching it again and knowing what's going on and what's her story. That's a big part of it, is when you're watching someone who's not giving you exposition and not giving you information, it's all keys, little bitty pieces that are going to formulate. Once you go back, you start to recognize those things. You start to see what she's doing, what the filmmaker's doing, what the storyteller's doing.
It's the ultimate show don't tell. Show don't tell.
Yeah.
Movie.
Which you have to do as a film, as a silent film. You have to. It has to be setups and payoffs, but visually, like you have to give hints and tell stories without the benefit of telling the audience exactly what's going on and why we're there and what's going on and why people are doing what they're doing, why these people are behaving the way, all these little things that she's doing. You're like, all right, what's that all about? Yeah, you find out.
Mm-hmm. All right, so number 3. Sorry, Seth, I saw what happened. Number 3, When Evil Lurks. Seth, I want you to take the lead on this one if you don't mind.
That's your number 1, and Jared's number 1.
Yeah,
both you guys, Jared, you too, both you guys. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so this movie is clearly my number 1 of the year, and I think what I love about it is more than any other film on our list, and I'm going to put this elegantly here, this movie has the biggest balls out of everything on our list. Like, this is Randy Marsh walking down with his big balls in a wheelbarrow.
Oh my god.
That's what this movie is. Okay.
Hey, I got big balls.
So it's the story of two brothers who. It's the story of two brothers who find a dead body, and they go to talk to the person that this person was supposed to go see, this woman, and turns out her son is possessed, and the person who was dead was supposed to be what's called the cleaner, and so they're sort of conflicted about it, and they go to another guy because they don't feel right about this presence around their property and their community. And so the two brothers and this one guy, they decide to take matters in their own hands, take the body and try to dump him somewhere. And basically they fuck up. Like, this is a movie of people who just fuck up constantly. And there's like this, like, and basically this evil, this supernatural evil kind of it kind of infests other things, and basically if you kill whatever it is that's infested with it, it just causes a chain reaction, and it just takes off from there. And this is a movie with huge balls. It does not give a flying
yeah, let's see. I was afraid, but
But well, because this movie doesn't really this movie is not afraid to offend, like it's not afraid to do things that most filmmakers probably wouldn't do, especially when it comes to children and
there's a lot of holy shit
and
in this
animals.
movie.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
I said holy shit so much. I'm like, oh god, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, when the dog thing happened, I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really, really love this movie. I watched it for a second time with my younger brother last week, and I was just like, you know what, this has to be my number one, because this movie it goes for the jugular, and I think it's one of the, out of everything, probably one of the most must-sees on our list.
This guy, Demian
Take it away.
Rugna, is someone to watch, because, like we talked about Veronica, he made a movie called Terrified a few years ago that was really fucking strong and scary and messed up. I don't know if you saw that.
Mm-mm.
If you like this, just watch Terrified. Not to be confused. I think people kept confusing it with Terrifier, because Terrifier came out the same year.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
And Terrified was the one to watch. Terrified was incredible, and it's the same director. He said he got the idea for this movie watching the news about farm pesticides causing widespread health issues in Argentina, where he's from. Yeah, this was one of the movies we saw the trailer and go, oh yeah, this is the kind of movie horror fans wait for. This is the kind of movie you're like, all right, sit back, because you're going to see some shit. You're going to be disturbed. And that's how this movie is. And like the way you talked about, like, it's like there are rules, and it's like this world, this universe where these people, this community have this knowledge of this existing evil, and they have these rules to follow that the audience doesn't know, so it creates this really thing, because the audience is like, what the fuck is going on? But the people seeing it are not as disturbed by it, because they're aware of this evil. They're aware of these things. And like you said, they keep fucking up because there's these rules that they know they have to follow, and someone didn't follow these rules, and now this evil is lurking. And we have to put the top on it, man. This spilling out, and there's a the big balls.
There you go.
If y'all saw Bo was afraid, Bo was afraid, you'd get that joke about that.
Yeah, I'll end up watching that one. I had to make this real fast. Yeah.
It's like the AC/DC song theme. Yeah.
You've got big balls. Evil Lurks has big. When Evil Lurks has big balls. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Jared, we need to hear from you about it. I know you said you liked it as well.
I did. Yes. It's one of those movies where, yes, it does come on face value. It does start to be something you've seen before, but then you actually start to delve into the Argentinian culture, how they have different beliefs and how they have different things. Like, hey, what's the first fucking thing that's going to happen? The animals are going to go ape shit.
Yeah.
And then Seth already alluded to the dog part. That part was that was actually the first jump scare that actually got me in a long time.
Agreed.
That like I don't get jump scared very often, but that jump scare actually got me.
Yeah,
And then-
the scene of the goat too. You gotta admit, I didn't see that coming at all.
No.
Even though it's kind of like the cover of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you can see it right there. Sorry.
Nice.
Yeah,
No,
I'm proud.
you get 2 thumbs up for that one.
Yeah. Is there anything else you guys want to say about When Evil Lurks before we move on to our top 2 from the year?
It's a must.
It's an absolute must. 100%
I
a
think
must.
it's all on our top 10s. My number 6, S2, Race 3, and where was it number 1 for you?
I think it was
Aaron?
number 1 for me.
So it's a must.
And really, out of all the top 5, it's got the highest score from our followers, 83%.
Yeah.
So
This is the kind of horror movie that comes out. I think horror fans are a little more hard-ons for foreign. And this is like one of those movies where you're hard pressed to find horror fans who hate it or disagree with you on it. Like it's hard to find a movie that people all agree. And I haven't seen anyone say, "Oh, When Evil Lurks was overrated," or "I didn't like it. Sucked." I haven't seen that yet.
I don't think I have either, actually. I'll have to look at the comments on our on the thing I put up earlier. But before we get to 2 and 1, I want to ask anybody who's watching if they have any clue what our number 2 or our number 1 is. Leave it in the comments, and we'll never read it. Let's see. Loved it. Haven't seen this. Best horror film of 2023, someone said. So close to being a 5-star movie. Yeah. One of the best. Still have to watch this one. My fave from, all good comments on our Facebook for this movie, When Evil Lurks. I really liked it. No clue. Okay. Well, let's show you what number 2 is. Number 2, surprisingly, is Saw 10, or Saw X, or Saw Roman numeral X, as Seth calls it.
No
Seth,
one more surprised than me.
This is the surprise of the year.
Yeah.
Not saying that against the Saw movies. I like the Saw franchise overall. I didn't like Spiral. Jigsaw wasn't that great, but I never in a million years thought maybe the first Saw would ever encroach into our top 5 for the year. But this was more than a return to form for Saw. It brought back Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith, who I love both. And this was good. This was actually a good story for Saw. Seth, take it away.
Saw Roman numeral 10. This one surprised me, even as a Saw fan. Like, I love the Saw franchise. Anytime a new one comes out, I get excited. I've seen all but one of them in the theater. Hold on a minute. They're going on fourth down here. Jared, do you want to take, or you guys want to take it away from it?
I have not seen it.
Come on.
All right, I'll take over, I guess. As someone who was not a Saw fan at all,
Oh, come on.
I've just never been a big Saw fan. I don't hate them, but I just didn't really love all the gore and violence in these movies, and I don't really find it fun. Even with this one, I'm like turning my head like, oh shit. But I really like this movie. It's number 6 out of overall for me, which is shocking.
It is shocking.
I think Saw would be in my top 6, but I think the story is solid. I think it was a great move to make Tobin Bell the the protagonist in the film, and Shawnee, and this was supposed to be the movie that followed Jigsaw, but Chris Rock called the people who run Saw and had the Spiral idea, so they made that instead. So when they were ready to make something after Spiral, because Spiral didn't do well, that they said, let's go back to that idea. And this movie is actually kind of a prequel because it apparently takes place between the first and second movie, which I didn't know going into it. But there's some really fun stories I wrote down. Like the editor got a visit from the police when he was cutting the eyeball sucking scene in the beginning of the movie because of all the screaming. He got complaints, so the cop showed up to his door. The other thing I have is, all right, this was the best reviewed film of the entire series, and I think it's the best. Personally, I think it's my favorite Saw movie. Also, the actress who played Cecilia, she had nightmares after reading the script and had to go to therapy and sleep study because she couldn't sleep, and she almost dropped out of the project because of it, just from reading the script. So I'll let y'all take it over what the story is, but I'll give you those tidbits.
Yeah, I would say this is in the top conversation for the top 3 of the Saw movies at least, but it was really well done, and I loved seeing Tobin Bell carry this movie because he did great. And at his age, being able to do something like this. I thought Saw X was an ultimate crap fest. Of course you did. Okay. I shouldn't have stopped reading. Saw X first time. Yeah, a little bit. It's good. It's real good. Seth, do you have anything else you want to say about this? I know that first quarter just ended. Damn.
Yeah. So as I was saying before I got distracted, so even as a Saw fan, like this one surprised me, because I just went in thinking, hey, this is going to be a return form, based on the trailers and everything, the marketing, going back to using the Roman numerals, the posters look like classic Saw. The trailer, I was like, okay, they're going to be back on track, and I was not expecting a character-driven movie, and like I'm in a couple of Saw fan groups, and some people who hate how slow this one starts, but I love it. I love the fact that we get a lot of time with John, because we can probably all agree that one of the biggest mistakes this franchise has done was to kill off John Kramer so early on. And I mean, Tobin Bell, this movie proves that he's the MVP of the series. Oh, yeah. And if you're gonna do a story, if you're gonna take the chance of doing a story set between 1 and 2 and bring back Tobin Bell, you got to make it count, and I think they totally did. And the fact that the villain of this movie is Cecilia, who's someone who you hate way more than anyone else, it's just really cool. I really enjoyed this film a lot. It's one of my favorites of the year. Yeah.
Well said. Yeah. I agree. It was really good. I was very surprised. Saw it in the theater, which was definitely worth seeing in the theater. So we ready for number 1? Anybody out there have any guesses what number 1 is before we get to it? I going into the year, I did not suspect, like I had my ideas of what could be the best movie of the year or number 1 overall. I don't think anybody would have thought this one was number 1. Anybody have any guess before we reveal our number 1? Not you guys, because you guys already know what it is. Let's see, we got a comment.
Is it Five Nights at Freddy's?
Is it Five Nights at Freddy's? Show me Five Nights at Freddy's.
Godzilla.
It's not Godzilla. We just did that one. Is it Randy's Big Balls? No, it's not.
No.
The Children of the Corn remake.
It is the Children of the Corn remake. Show me Children of the Corn remake.
Pet Cemetery.
Is it? No, it is not Pet Cemetery.
Shit.
I thought that was
Werewolf Santa.
It's Werewolf Santa, number
it's
1.
Werewolf
No,
Santa.
it's How many werewolf movies did you squeeze in this year?
I don't know where he finds these. I think he's
I know.
picking up half of them.
I know, right? he digs to the depths to find these werewolf
He's like,
movies.
is there a wolf in this movie?
Yeah.
I will watch it.
Right. All right. Our number
Amityville Werewolf. Is there one?
Was that this year? Amityville Werewolf? Was that this year?
Yeah.
Oh,
Has there
Lord.
been one? There has to be.
Amityville Moon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Close.
Amityville Moon.
Yeah.
Now is our Mickey Mouse versus the
sucked.
werewolf movie.
Nate saw Godzilla minus
that was
one.
one of my
his honorable
mentions.
Yeah.
Godzilla -1. Yeah.
What's missing? I'll tell you. Our number one is this woke trash Evil Dead Rise. I'm just joking. Somebody challenged that earlier. Evil Dead Rise is our number one film. This has been my number one all year since I saw it. I fucking love it. It's amazing and great performances all around. It's just balls to the wall horror, blood everywhere, eyeballs flying, chainsaws. Yeah, fucking.
This was like the unanimous number one. Seth gave it a 4. Jared gave it a 4. I have it at 3. You have it at 1.
Yes,
it's pretty. The landslide winner for number one.
I loved it.
I did. We did a whole episode on it.
Yeah,
dove into it. It's. I don't get these people who don't like these last 2 Evil Dead movies. I think they're both fucking fantastic horror films all around.
Yeah, I saw it. I think opening weekend. It was like, I'm so glad that they decided to put it in the theater. This is a theatrical event movie.
Yeah, it was supposed to be straight to HBO, and the test did so well that they released it. And it was great. I mean, maybe some people are angry that this movie happened because they were supposed to make a sequel to the other one, and that got scrapped. And they were supposed to make a sequel to Army of Darkness, and that got scrapped. So they made this. So some people are like, oh, we thought we were going to get Bruce Campbell. We thought we were going to get another season of the show, and we didn't. We got this, and this is not what we want.
Well, the thing is, though, I think they're building towards something that is all-encompassing, and people won't listen to me when I keep saying this. I think they're building it because, I mean, Sam Raimi's involved, and Bruce Campbell's involved.
Yeah.
It's like there are 3 books apparently now. I mean, they are building to something bigger. Just let it breathe, people.
And we got one of the greatest moments in outside pop culture where the guy at the screening said, "This movie sucks," and Bruce Campbell's like, "Why the fuck are you here? Go the fuck away.
Yeah.
Go home," or whatever he said.
Right.
Because, you're great. Fucking get out of here.
I think I love this movie. I love the main character. I love the possessed victim was fucking phenomenal. I don't know what people's problems are with this or Evil Dead.
Opening where she levitates above the lake and the title comes up.
Oh yeah, that is the best title card of all time. I'm sorry that if that doesn't get you prepared for a movie, I don't know what will. It's available on Max if you haven't seen it. It's
there's so many vaginas in this movie.
I know there's a transgender person in this movie, so it's super woke, but I loved Alyssa Sutherland. She was fucking a powerhouse in this movie. And then Beth, I want to see Mia and Beth on screen together. Just saying.
Yeah.
I love Mia from 2013 non-remake of Evil Dead. It's not a remake.
Not a remake, guys.
Nope, not anymore.
They keep calling it a remake.
Keep calling it a remake. It's like fuck around and find out. You're going to fuck around and find out it's not a remake. Fede Alvarez has said it's not a remake since way back when. But I love this movie. Seth, you love this movie, I think. Did we do a whole episode on this?
We did, yeah. Because I remember we really dove into it, and after it came out, we all loved it. We were ready to talk about it. I think I went back to the theater to watch it again just to do the show.
Yeah, I've watched it a few times since. I bought it like the day it came out. I had to have it. Yeah. I think this is a great addition to the Evil Dead franchise. Period.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's a bad Evil Dead movie.
I don't either. I even said that. I said that today. I was like, "There's not one bad weak movie." I think the weakest, in my opinion, is Army of Darkness.
Yeah, just because
it's I still like it.
It's still great. It's still fucking great.
Yeah, it's I have no problems with it. But anyway, yeah, first one with the Deadite mom. How can you not like that? You know. Anyway, anybody have anything
Mommy's
they
with
want
the
to say, Jared?
worms now.
Yeah, I love that scene. That's so creepy. But there's a transgender person
That
who still everybody
hallway
hates it.
scene. Yeah, like you mentioned that somebody called it woke, and I'm like, hold on, this movie is one of the few movies where you have a transgender actor who is playing a straight male character, not playing a transgender character, but they never made an announcement. They didn't make a big to-do about it. They didn't.
Nope.
Like all these films that people complain about the virtue signaling, Evil Dead Rise didn't do that. They cast a transgender actor and didn't bring any attention to it.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and it's like that's the opposite of what everyone's angry about this stuff. There was nothing in there about agendas and all this stuff. It was a fucking horror movie. I mean, it's
And
just,
a good one.
There's nothing in it that I mean, the daughter, one of the daughters was an activist, right? But it wasn't about. I don't remember what she was acting like.
Exactly. You don't remember because they barely even.
They didn't make a
about
big
it.
deal about it. Yeah, and they kind of make fun of that she was a fucking activist. Like it wasn't like, yeah, right on, sister. It's like, what do you do? What are you protesting this week? It's like,
right. And I think one of the cool things is like this in Scream 6 and Saw 10 were all return to forms for the franchise. And this made me want more Evil Dead. And of course, so did 2013. So it's like, let's get more Evil Dead. I love this movie. I think we all love this. Obviously, our number one. But we're gonna go ahead and recap all of our top 25 real fast, and we'll say goodnight. I think next week or the next time we do a show, if you guys are cool, I'd like to do Red State.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it a little bit in our chat, and I haven't seen it since I saw it for the first time, and there's a lot of comments on our Facebook when I posted it. So I'd like to definitely talk. I know Jared, this one is kind of close to your heart in a way. I don't know how Seth feels about it, but I guess we'll find out. So that'll be next show. Starting with 25, we've got The Sacrifice Game, Sister Death, Fear the Invisible Man, Ghosts of the Void, Malam. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Number 20 is Beau is Afraid. 19 is Unseen. Talk to Me is at 18, and a lot of people have this way higher than we do. Birth Rebirth, a must-watch on Shudder. Infinity Pool, which you can see on Hulu. I probably should have said that for the other ones. Is number 16. Totally Killer on Prime. Brooklyn 45, Shudder, is number 14. 13 is Cobweb. I think that's on Hulu. 12 is Knock at the Cabin on Peacock. Hell House LLC Origins, The Carmichael Manor. It is a lot to say. It is on Shudder.
1970s band. What is it?
Yeah, right. Number 10 is Click, which I believe is on Peacock as well. Number 9, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. You'd have to rent it or buy it. In My Mother's Skin, I think you said was on Shudder or in Prime, which is on number 8. Number 7, Dark Harvest, is going to be a hard one to come by, unfortunately. You have to rent it or buy it. Scream 6 is on Paramount Plus, I think. Thanksgiving, $20 to rent. Ridiculous. 4 is on Hulu, No One Will Save You. Yes, I corrected it. Number 3 is When Evil Lurks on Shudder. Saw 10, I do not think is streaming currently. It's still pretty fresh. It'll probably be out on Blu-rays in the next month or so. And then number 1 is Evil Dead Rise. Is it out? Okay. I need to buy it. Evil Dead Rise, which is on Max, or buy it. Buy a fucking copy. And don't forget, our ballsiest movie of the year is When Evil Lurks. So...
Have y'all seen the new South Park special? The what's it called? Cred?
Not yet. Cred. I haven't watched that one yet. Yeah.
Or Randy, because it made you think because Randy gets an OnlyFans and he's got his dick and balls out the whole episode.
Oh my God, does he really?
He's doing it OnlyFans, yeah.
Sharon.
So I was thinking about watching. So I showed my kids South Park like up through the first like 15.
Don't
16
show 'em
seasons.
that.
Don't show them that one.
So yeah, and they're like, well,
Do not.
on our what's it called, Roku box, it has a big ad for that. When are we gonna watch that? And I'm like, I heard that one's got a lot going on in it, so let me check first. Is it as different as Randy doing dick magic? Did you guys ever see that?
Well, no, but he's just walking around bottomless for most
Yeah.
of the episode.
Yep.
Hey, Sharon.
Nope. Yeah.
Maybe
just
too much.
don't let your kids watch that episode.
Okay, I won't let them watch that one. All right, anybody, all right, everybody who watches this, thank you so much for joining us. Tune in the next episode as we talk about, I guess we'll talk about Red State, and we'll get into some other ones. We might revisit some of these that are on our list this year as well. We've got a lot of stuff to catch up on. Seth and I are back on Wednesday, unless the Bills lose, probably, to watch or talk about Child's Play 2.
Go Bills.
Yeah, go Bills. Oh, that's from a Chiefs fan.
It is.
You just don't want to see the Bills, do you? Not yet.
No, I'd rather play the better team.
Okay. And I'd rather see the Chiefs lose to the better team.
I know you would, dick.
Anyway, everybody have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, we'll be back Sundays. I'm assuming back at our regular time, 8 Central, 9 on the East. And what would that be? 6 in California. We don't have very many people on the West Coast still. So have a great evening. Great seeing you guys. I really had fun with you guys tonight. It's been too long since we've all been together in the same place at the same time, even though we're not in the same place at the same time. Any final thoughts before we go?
I love you all.
Don't hold me to it. You may not like all these movies. We didn't.
I think we have a pretty good. Let me ask one last question before we go. We have 4 years into the decade. What's your favorite movie of the decade so far? Barbarian.
Make a list.
We just made a list. Barbarian was my number one.
I think Barbarian was
Last
my
year.
number one. Yeah. As far as horror goes.
Jared, you look on your face. You're like, I can tell you're stumped. Seth, is it Werewolf Santa?
It's totally Werewolf Santa. You know, it's a
Okay,
masterpiece. I think you like it, Ray. Check it out.
I'll address this real fast. Godzilla -1 was watched by one of us. That's why.
Yeah, only one of us saw it.
Yeah.
I think these guys will dig it once they see it, even if they're not Godzilla fan. Because I'm not a big Godzilla guy, and you know, Godzilla is just a small part of a really good epic human story, World War II story. So.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I've seen a lot of Godzilla stuff. Not a huge fan, but I definitely have heard a lot of good things about that one. It could have made the list if we all would have seen it. I bet it would have, but
It would have, yeah. I think.
Sorry about that. Sorry,
I
we just lost.
couldn't get to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have a great night, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
We have such sights to show you.